Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of what if Deku was reborn with the Dragon King Acnologia? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Talking, thinking, Quirk, magic. All men are not created equal. No one knew this phrase better than Izuku Midoriya. He learned this at the age of 4 when everyone but him had gained their quirk. In a society filled with superpowered people, he was among the 20% without a quirk. He had spent the last 14 years of his life dreaming of becoming a hero. The only thing was no one believed in him. In a world based around quirks, not having one meant everyone looked down on you, be it with contempt or pity. Even his childhood friend Bakugo Katsuki stopped being his friend and started to bully and ridicule him. No one helped him, no one stopped the abuse, teachers didn't care, and he didn't tell his mother in fear of making her worry more than she had to. He just wanted one person to believe in him, to tell him those 5 magic words. This all culminates to this day. The day his dreams were finally crushed. No, not without a quirk. All Might paused. It's okay to dream, but make sure it is realistic. He stated as he left Izuku on the rooftop that they had landed on. Izuku was devastated. Even the greatest hero, the one he looked up to with all his heart, had said that his dream was foolish. He hurt so much his chest felt so tight it burned. He wasn't just crying anymore, he was wailing. The pain was so much worse than all the beatings he had gotten from Bakugo over the years. Suddenly his head snapped up as he looked up at the edge of the roof, and Bakugo's words from earlier today came flooding back into his head. If you want a quirk so bad, that's easy, why don't you take a swan dive off the roof and pray for a quirk in the next life? Izuku slowly stood and started walking over to the edge of the roof. He slowly put his backpack down and slowly took off his shoes. He then climbed over the railing and had one last thought before he jumped. Sorry, Mom, I wish I was just a little stronger. He then let go as he fell. He finally felt some form of relief. He finally was going to get rid of the pain. Then everything went black, and when he opened his eyes he was floating in nothingness. He felt nothing, saw nothing, and heard nothing. He was just floating in space. Is this the afterlife? Izuku asked himself. No, this isn't the afterlife. Someone behind him scoffed. Izuku spun around and saw who spoke. It was a man who was around 6 feet 0 inches in height. He had dark skin that had blue markings on his face and arms. He looked to have a very strong build. He had long spike blue hair that went down to his mid-back. He also was wearing a pair of dark blue torn-up shorts that went to his mid-calves, not shoes, no shirt, and a high-collared dark gray cape, with a necklace that looked to have 5 teeth hung by a string. You going to say something or just stare? The man deadpanned at him. Who are you? Izuku stuttered. I go by many names, but I forgot my original name a long time ago. You may call me Acnologia, the now named Acnologia said. Do you know where we are? Izuku asked him, since he was starting to worry about what was going on and wondering where they were. I have the gist of it, yeah, Acnologia said as he crossed his arms. We are in a void that is between this life and the next. All souls in all universes travel through here to get to their afterlife, be it heaven, hell, or anything in between. Izuku was awe-stricken that any place like this existed. Acnologia continued, I have no idea how long I have been here, but I woke up here after my death. The being that watches over this place, better known as Death, himself told me to watch your life. So, I did. I know what your world is like and the abuse you have suffered over the years. I was told I would get the remainder of the story after you would end up here. After he finished his explanation, Izuku just stared at him in complete shock and awe. This is insane. Izuku thought. So, you are not from my world? Izuku asked, putting together that Acnologia was from a different world than him. Acnologia nodded. Yes, my world would look like it would take place in your world's past, and instead of quirks we use something called magic. Izuku was shocked again, then he shouted, Magic, seriously? Acnologia chuckled at that. Yes, and I was one of the strongest in my world, and my magic was Dragon Slayer magic. Izuku was dumbstruck at that one. So, this guy was like the all-might of his world if he was one of the strongest, Izuku thought. I'm guessing Dragon Slayer magic was the magic to slay dragons? Izuku asked as he was still trying to wrap his head around this. Yes, it was, but in my world dragon-slaying magic was based on the type of dragon you learned it from. So, if a fire dragon taught you Dragon Slayer magic, you could use fire dragon slaying magic. If a lightning dragon taught you, then you would have lightning dragon slaying magic, etc. This would make you immune to the element you were taught, and you could eat the element to regain your stamina and magic power. Also, when you ate any magic of your element, it would increase your magic container amount so you would have more magic than before, explained Acnologia. Wow, that is a lot to take in. So what element do you have? Asked Izuku. Acnologia smirked at that, then he went on to explain, that's the thing, I don't have element. I can eat and am immune to all magic. That's amazing! Izuku exclaimed. Before he could continue, both he and Acnologia felt a rush of wind that nearly blew them both away. They turned in the direction the wind came from, and there stood an incredible tall figure who was covered in an all-black cloak that covered everything but the being's almost pure white hands. They've got to be taller than him, lady. Izuku screamed mentally. So, you have returned finally, Acnologia stated as he crossed his arms. Yes, I have returned to tell you both the reason you are both here, Death stated. The reason both of you are here is that. He trailed off as he pointed at Acnologia, you need to atone for all the sins you have committed. He then pointed at Izuku, and you have been beaten and broken because something you had no control over. You have a greater heroic spirit than 90% of your modern-day heroes. So, you need a chance to prove you deserve to stand with the rest of them, Death stated. They looked at him wondering how Acnologia was going to repent and how Izuku was going to be given a chance. Your body was destroyed when you died, Acnologia, so now you have none to go back to, and you, Izuku, may have broken your body with your jump, but that is nothing I cannot. I am going to merge your souls so you will become one, a being with the knowledge and memories of both. Izuku's body will also take some of Acnologia's characteristics, since the body will host a mixture of his and Izuku's soul. Then, with a combination of training and slow adaptation, his body will be at what Acnologia's body was, so he can handle all the magical power and his dragon transformation. The power will be different, though your abilities will be the same and act the same. Instead of being immune to magic and eating it, that will be changed to quirks. They looked at Death confused, so he elaborated. Think of it this way, if a fire emitter user launched an attack at you, you could eat the flames or just be immune to them. Same could be said with transformation or mutation quirks. Those are more physical, so for an example, if MT Lady transformed and tried to kick you, if you're strong enough you would not take damage. If you are in your human form you could be knocked away if the person was strong enough, like All Might, but take no damage from the strike. With Acnologia's level of power, though, you shouldn't need to worry. So, if you train hard while your body adapts, you will be ready for UA in 10 months, explained Death. Both Izuku and Acnologia were shocked at what was going to happen. They are going to be merged into one. Acnologia just exhaled, and then a combination looks of both acceptance and resignation appeared on his face as he turned to Izuku. He then stated, for all I've done, this is the best way for me to repent for my sins, and by combining with someone with such a heroic spirit, it is the best way to do that, so I'll do it. Izuku looked back at him and smiled. I'll finally have the power to become a hero. I've always told myself I'll do anything for a quirk. Now that I have the chance, I just can't turn it down, Izuku said. They both looked back at Death and together said, we'll do it. Death nodded and said, okay, I'll start the process. It won't hurt, it will just feel like someone stretching you. You will awaken in a second after Izuku hits the ground, and your body will feel as good as new. Now if you train your body while it evolves, it will take until the entrance exams to reach where Acnologia was before he ate the time rift near the end of his life. Izuku looked at Acnologia with a questionably raised eyebrow. Acnologia shrugged and said, you'll learn about it soon. Izuku just nodded. One last thing, if ever need to know something, just think about me in death and I'll speak with you. Don't do this unless it is life and death. Alright, I'm starting the process. Goodbye for now, Death informed them. The next thing Izuku and Acnologia knew, they were being pulled towards each other. Their bodies hit and they saw a bright light. The next thing they knew, they were laying on the sidewalk. They slowly got up when they realized they were one. It didn't freak him out as much as it would have before, must be because of Acnologia. I am no longer just Izuku Midoriya or Acnologia, I am he, we are one, Izuku said. I'll still go by Izuku Midoriya since that is my name now. I might use my old name for a hero name though, he thought. He looked at his hands and kept clenching his fists. He could already feel the physical and magical power coursing through him. He smirked. This is going to be fun. After Izuku got both his backpack and shoes from the roof of the building he jumped from not 5 minutes ago, he started walking home while deep in thought. A lot has happened in the last half an hour and he was still wrapping his head around all of it. He had all these memories, both are his, but both are not. He groaned out loud and put his head in his hands. He was going to figure this out. He didn't just have new memories, he also had power now. He could become the hero he always wanted. He lifted his head when he heard an explosion in the distance. Must be another villain attack. Might go check it out, Izuku thought as turned in that direction and headed towards the explosion. As he got closer, he saw a crowd of people watching something. He started to wade through the crowd to get a better look at what was happening. Once he got to the front of the crowd, he froze, and what he saw shocked him to the core. There in the middle of the alley was the sludge villain from earlier, and he was trying to take control of Bakugo. The heroes were doing nothing, just standing there watching, just saying things like waiting for a hero with a more useful quirk. Izuku started looking around to see how other people were reacting. They all had a look of shock that the heroes weren't doing anything, also they were all asking if this was the villain that All Might caught earlier. As Izuku kept looking around, he noticed long messy blonde hair. He looked over and saw All Might in his skinny form just standing there and watching as well. Izuku felt pure rage at the heroes. He knows this is different than how he would have reacted before. But now that he is no longer who he used to be, this is how he feels now. The anger was helping him feel the power within him begin to well up. He realized that he had power now, a power that he could use to be a hero. Suddenly, he felt like his head was splitting in two. He bent forward and gripped his head. The pain was unbearable. It took all his control to not scream in pain as memories flooded in. Memories of how to use his new power and information about it. Images and knowledge flashed before his eyes as the headache started to subside. He looked through all the memories and knowledge in a matter of seconds. He felt like smacking himself. He wasn't just some quirkless loser anymore, he was Acnologia, the Dragon King, the Black Dragon of the Apocalypse. He was going to be one of the world's greatest heroes. He stood up straight and he then started taking stock of himself. Judging from how strong he physically felt, he was about 2 times stronger than he was before. That wasn't much since this body was a skinny and weak 17-year-old, but he wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth. He felt his power pool and realized he didn't have much, but once he starts his training, he can up it back to where it once was. He had enough to boost himself physically with his magic for a few seconds and then maybe one attack if he pushed himself. He could do this. He will save Cockdash. No Bakugo, they haven't been friends in a long time. He will save Bakugo because it is the right thing to do, also in the name of their old friendship. Izuku took off his backpack and took a deep breath. He immersed himself in the knowledge and memories and wrapped himself in it. He pulled on his power to enhance himself physically and launched forward. Everyone reacted as he launched forward, and people in the crowd yelled and screamed as heroes yelled at him to get back, but Izuku rushed forward. He felt like a bullet as he flew forward. He enhanced his whole body with his power as he rushed towards the villain. Izuku aimed just behind Bakugo as he came rushing in. He straightened his hand out like he was going to use it like a spear or sword. He brought his magically enhanced arm up and when he was in range swung it down just behind Bakugo. He cut through the sludge like a hot knife through butter. His slash went all the way through the sludge villain. Bakugo fell to the ground coughing up sludge before he could take a breath, though Izuku grabbed him by the back of his school uniform and with a mighty spin threw him towards the heroes and crowd. He was then struck by a sludge tentacle and flew back a few feet. It didn't hurt that much because of new quirk immunity, but the force is what got him. As he got back to his feet and looked at the villain, who was glaring back, Izuku felt a wave of confidence and smirked at the villain and did something he has never done before. What, your plans all ruined now? Izuku tauntingly asked the villain, who growled and yelled, "You piece of shit, I'll kill you for that." He then launched himself at Izuku, who just stood there impassively. Izuku then took a deep breath, filling his lungs with his air and magic, and released his attack at the charging villain. Dragon's Roar! Izuku roared out as dark green and black beam shot out of his mouth, the size and width of his body's height. The blast traveled way too fast for the sludge villain to react as he was hit by the blast. The villain screamed in pain from the blast. Once he was hit by the blast created a large explosion which sent him everywhere, similarly to All Might's attack from earlier that day. After the smoke cleared, everyone saw Izuku standing there without a scratch on him as he took a few deep breaths, because that took a bit out of him. The crowd and heroes then saw the pieces of the villain spread about. They could hear this groaning, so they knew he wasn't dead. The crowd went wild. They started cheering and clapping, saying how strong Izuku was and how powerful his quirk was. The heroes were in a state of shock how quickly Izuku took care of the villain they were struggling with. That is when they started walking towards Izuku while the police came to pick up the villain. 3 of the heroes walked up to him after he regained his breath were Embi Lady, Kamui Woods, and Death Arms. The latter 2 were trying to lecture him about what he did was dangerous and could have gotten himself or the hostage hurt or killed. MT Lady was just complaining that he took her popularity. While they kept trying to scold him, Izuku had enough, so he scoffed and said, "None of you were doing anything, so I took it upon myself to be the only competent person here other than Backdraft over there who did something by trying to put out the fires." That shut them up for a second, and before they could respond, Izuku started walking away, and as they tried to call out to him, he stopped and said, "Oh, and you're welcome by the way for doing your FNG job." Having said his piece, Izuku walked back to his backpack, grabbed it, and walked away from the scene. With no one stopping him because no one would be stupid enough to stop, the kid launched an energy attack out of his mouth. So, he started walking home. He was trying to wrap his head around his day, but before he made it home, he heard something behind him, so stopped and looked over his shoulder and saw it was Bakugo running after him. He seems too far away for me to hear him so well, Izuku thought to himself. Then another rush of information hit him. It seems his sense of smell, hearing, sight, and balance have all been massively enhanced to a high degree. Well, that's going to help, he thought, until the part of motion sickness from vehicles appeared. Looks like there is a downside to the heightened senses. Looks like I can work to bring down the effects though, so that's good, he thought. It was just then that Bakugo caught and started yelling at him that he didn't need his help and he was going to be the #1 hero even if Izuku had stupid FANG quirk now. "You hear me, Deku, I don't need your help." Bakugo kept ranting and yelling. Izuku tired of the yelling because it was hurting his new hearing and he was sick of being talked down to bit back. "Fine, the next time I'll leave you to die," Izuku said back, which caught Bakugo off guard. "What did you say, you shitty N dash?" He was cut off by Izuku, who said, "You heard me, Bakugo, next time I won't save you next time, also I'm done being your punching bag. I'll leave you alone if you'll leave me alone, sound fair? Now I must go, have a nice life." Izuku then turned and walked away, leaving a shocked Bakugo who didn't know how to handle the situation. He became enraged but froze when he realized Izuku didn't use his nickname for him. Bakugo looked after him and with great resistance felt a small amount of respect for this new Izuku, but will rather face torture than admit it. So, Bakugo just turned around and headed home. Izuku made it about another block before someone else tried to stop him. He heard who it was a full 15 seconds before they emerged from the side street. All Might appeared in all his glory, announcing he was here. Izuku just stared at him impassively and crossed his arms. All Might then dropped the transformation with a cough. He then looked at Izuku and said, "Young man, you did great work today and I just wanted to apologize dash." All Might was then cut off by Izuku, who now looked very annoyed. "What, that you are sorry and now that I have a quirk, I can be a hero, is that it?" Izuku asked with narrowed eyes and a raised eyebrow. All Might coughed again and tried to start again. Listen, young man, that's not dash." He was cut off again. "Listen, I don't need your pity or your apology. Do you want to know how I got my power?" Izuku asked All Might, and before he could respond, Izuku continued, "After you left me on that roof with my dreams crushed, I decided to do what a bully suggested I should do earlier that day to get a quirk. That advice was, if you want a quirk so bad, That's easy, why don't you take a swan dive off the roof and pray for a quirk in the next life? So that's what I did. Izuku stated as he looked a very distraught All Might in the eyes. Before All Might could even come up with something to say, Izuku continued, by some slide of cosmic luck that worked. So no, I don't need a Finji apology from a hypocrite and a liar. So, goodbye All Might, even we don't see each other ever again, it will still be too soon. Izuku then walked right by him without a second thought to go home. All Might watched after him with sad eyes, realizing what a terrible mistake he made, and now he almost killed an innocent child and lost a very worthy successor. All Might put his head down in shame and walked away. Izuku made it home and didn't want to deal with his worrying mother, so he just asked her to let him know when dinner was ready. Izuku went to his room and started taking down all his All Might memorabilia, and he put it all in bags and boxes, and when he left his room for dinner he told his mother to donate it. His mother was shocked, and when she asked why he was getting rid of all his stuff, he responded, "Never meet your heroes." Izuku then went back to his room so he could sort through all his memories of both lives and to start a training plan. "I am going to get control of my powers and be ready for UA in 10 months, he thought to himself. So with that he got to work. Starting the next day, Izuku started his new training regimen. His first idea was to start running to build up his stamina and endurance. 1 week into his running, he started to smell something completely awful. He wanted to see what smelled so bad, so he went looking for what caused such a terrible smell. After only a few minutes of looking did Izuku find what caused the smell. It was a beach covered by trash, mountains of trash to be exact. Izuku saw it was called Dagoba Beach. He looked over the beach and smiled, not his old shining light smile, no, this was his new smile, a mixture of his and Acnologia's smile. It was creepy and terrifying all at once. He now knew where he can increase his physical strength and magical power now. So, for the next 10 months Izuku trained his body and magical power every day, morning and night. He also had his mom start cooking him a new kind of meal plan, full of protein, carbs, and vegetables. She was at first reluctant about his training, thinking he was giving himself false hope. That was until he showed her some of his power. She was so happy and excited that he had a quirk now. It stung a little bit when she now believed he could achieve his dream, but he wouldn't have believed in him either with how weak his old body was. He has grown a total of 7 inches, coming to a respectable 6 feet 1 inch, as well as adding about 60 pounds to his frame. None of it was fat, all of it was solid muscle. He gained it from a combination of his workouts and his body adapting to the ever-growing magical pool he gained. He lost the baby fat on his face, giving him a nice chiseled look. He started to gain some of Acnologia's characteristics. His freckles gave way to dark green tribal tattoos that looked exactly like Acnologia's. The only difference is that the color changed. He also got similar tattoos that Acnologia had on his arms as well. Again, they were the same, but Izuku's were dark green. Izuku's hair also changed, the color remained the same, but it became less curly and spikier like Acnologia. He started to grow it out as well. His hair was now down to his shoulder blades. His hair covered his entire head, and he had 2 large bangs frame his face like Acnologia's did. He kept up with his hero journals, though. He needed to keep his analytical skills sharp so he could use them on the fly in the field. His biggest change, though, has been his overall attitude and demeanor. With each passing day, Izuku grew more confident and surer of himself. He had now become more standoffish, though he was more battle-hungry as well and gained a bit of a temper. All these changes were caused by Acnologia's personality bleeding into Izuku. The more power he gained, the more like Acnologia he became. Everyone at his school knew how he saved Bakugo with a quirk. At first, they tried to act nice to him and try to be his friend, but Izuku would sneer at them and tell them off, saying that if they didn't like him before, they aren't worth his time now. As he would tell them off, he would release some of his power to scare whoever it was. Many of the guys never went near him because of the attitude change plus the way Izuku looks now. They believed he could destroy them in a fight. The girls at his school, though, kept giving him these lustful looks because of how tall and strong he had become. They talked about how hot he was. He disliked it only because of how the girls had treated him in the past. Izuku doesn't care about their opinions, though. He's got a friend who liked him for who he was, so he didn't need them. He gained his new friend 4 months into his training. He had just thrown a large truck into the air and blasted it with a roar. That's when the scent hit him. He could tell it was a person. They smelled of grease, body odor, and surprisingly green apple. That last one confused him, and when he was just about to look for the smell, someone yelled at him. "So, you're the one who keeps throwing around and destroying my spare parts," the person behind him said. Izuku turned around and his eyes widened at who he saw. Behind him was a girl. No, this was a young woman with a decent 5 feet 6 inches height. She had a pink dreadlock-style hair that went to her shoulders with golden eyes with crosshairs in them that were focusing on him. She was wearing a pair of black work boots and a dark green jumpsuit. The top part, though, was off and tied around her waist. So, the only thing covering her upper body was a tight black tank top that seemed to be struggling to keep your large perky C-cup BRs under control. He could see that she had strong-looking arms, and by the way she was standing he could tell she had a strong back as well. From what Izuku could tell from seeing how dirty she, and it was mostly dirt, oil, and grease, is that she was an inventor. "So, you use this place for parts for your inventions?" Izuku asked the filthy girl. "Yes, I use all the parts here for my babies," she replied with enthusiasm. "Babies?" Izuku asked, completely confused. "Yes, I build the most wonderful babies," she replied. Izuku put it together that she meant her inventions. So, she wants to be an inventor. Looks like she is working hard for her dreams, Izuku thought as he observed her as she went around the scrap piles. "Who are you, by the way?" Izuku asked the pink hair inventor. She whipped around to face him. "I am Hatsume Mei, inventor extraordinaire," she replied with this big grin and a slightly crazed look in her eyes. Izuku couldn't deny that she looked impressive with how sure of herself she looked. "Now, who are you, Mr. Muscles?" Hatsume asked as she appeared in front of him and started feeling him up. Izuku was a little shocked by the sudden Jirinji but didn't freak out as he would have 4 months ago. Izuku just smirked a little bit. "I am Midoriya Izuku," he replied as he grabbed her hands and looked at her in the eyes. "And if you don't want this to escalate, I would stop the Jirinji." She looked at him confused. "What do you mean escalate? How can this escalate?" she asked with general confusion on her face. Izuku's sweat dropped at that reaction. She was oblivious about those kinds of things, so he decided not to hold it against her. "It's nothing. So what are you building now with the parts you are scavenging?" Izuku asked her as she started looking through the junk again. "I am making a baby for the entrance exam for UA University," she replied. That caught Izuku's attention. "Wait, are you telling me you are going to UA?" Izuku asked with some genuine excitement in his tone. "Yes, I am," she responded proudly. "Only the best of the best go to UA, so I am getting into the support course." "I am trying to get into the hero course myself," Izuku told her. "Really?" she screamed excitedly. "Do you need any babies to help you? Oh, I know you can become my first client and I can help you, while you show off my babies," she babbled. Izuku smiled at her. He realized they were the same kind of person, focused solely on their dreams and awkward in social situations. Well, he's gotten better now, but he still doesn't like them. "I don't need much for the support equipment," he said as he saw her start to deflate and decided to continue. "But I do need some help with my costume design and materials for that if you want to help me," Izuku said. Mei then lit up. "Oh, of course I will help you with your costume, but first, what is your quirk? So I need to get materials ready for it?" she asked. Izuku had prepared for this question for when anyone asked, and for his quirk registration papers when he updated them a month ago. "My quirk mainly deals with energy." He started, having caught her undivided attention as she brought out a notepad and pencil. Izuku smiled at that, seeing their similarities, and continued, "I can absorb any kind of energy, be it kinetic, heat, light, etc. I absorb it by eating it and storing it within me. Also, I can negate any energy. I don't want to absorb, so I won't take any damage from it, only if I am stronger than the attack though. I can also release the stored energy in forms of blasts and enhancements to my body," Izuku explained. He noticed Mei and a crazed smile and gleam in her eyes. "Oh my god, this is great. I can think of so many ideas what to make with this quirk, and I know what to use for the costume." She kept going while Izuku smiled at her. It was at that moment that Izuku made his first friend. For the next 6 months, they met up, be it where Mei would work on things while Izuku trained, or he would help haul larger things for her to her shop to help her and get a workout at the same time. As the months went on, they got closer together. Izuku's mother would keep going back and forth. She would be happy and told Izuku she wanted to spoil her grandbabies. Then she would flip and say Izuku was too young to leave her, even though he was now before either Mei or Izuku knew it was time for the UA entrance exam. They lived somewhat close to each other in Yuzudafu, so they took the train together to UA. Izuku used to hate the train because of his new motion sickness, but Mei made him a little band that stopped it. When she gave it to him, Izuku bear hugged her and spun her around, thanking her repeatedly. She laughed and said it was okay. When they looked at each other in the eyes, they both lightly blushed, and Izuku let her down while looking away. What he didn't notice was the confused look on Mei's face as she put a hand over her heart. They arrived in the gates of UA. Neither of them were nervous. They both knew they will make it into their respective courses. Izuku saw Bakugo and he noticed Izuku as well. They both nodded to each other as a show of respect. Their relationship is the most changed one. Bakugo stopped trying to put down Izuku and saw him now as a proper rival. They weren't best friends or anything, but their relationship was starting to be repaired. Both Izuku and Mei walked to the registration desk and were told which way each had to go. They told each other good luck and went their separate ways. Izuku went to his written test classroom, and after a few minutes, Cementos walked in. He said he was the proctor. He gave them the test, told them they have 3 hours to complete the test, and then told them to begin. Izuku didn't just physically train for this day, he studied as well, so he could be at the top both physically and mentally. Izuku was done at a 1-hour mark on the day. He then spent 10 minutes to check his work twice. He then stood up and handed it in. Cementos was a little shocked and told Izuku just to sit quietly at his desk. Izuku spent the next 2 hours meditating at his desk to prepare his power. When the time was up, they got put in an auditorium. President Mike came in and gave them the rundown of the physical portion of the test. He explained that they would be split up into different groups and go to different areas, and in each area, there would be 3 different kinds of robots. Each one would be worth different points on a scale from 1 to. When the presentation was almost done, someone with dark blue hair and glass stood to ask a question. He asked why President Mike didn't talk about the 4th kind of robot and turned and scolded a couple of guys for whispering. Guys gotta stick up his butt. Izuku commented to Bakugo, who in turn broke into a big smirk and chuckled a little bit. President Mike calmed the blue hair boy down and thanked him for his question and informed the audience that the last robot is worth 0 points and not worth it. He then wished them luck and they all left to go on their buses to their area. Once they got there, they just stood around. Some were mingling and others were hyping themselves up. Izuku decided to power up a bit in preparation. So, he stopped holding back his power. Suddenly, everyone felt a tremendous pressure on themselves. It felt like gravity had just doubled or even tripled. They all noticed it was Izuku who had his eyes closed and was taking a few deep breaths. When Izuku opened his eyes and saw all the looks he was getting, he just smirked. The blue-haired boy from the presentation started trying to scold Izuku. You there, you must stop using your quirk at once. It is against the rules to use it on others, especially before the test. The waved his arm robotically as he tried to yell at Izuku. Izuku narrowed his eyes at him and responded neutrally, "This isn't my quirk." Before the glasses boy could respond, Izuku continued, "This is a byproduct of me stopping the process of holding my power back." Before anyone could wrap their head around that reveal, the gates flew open and President Mike yelled, "Oh!" Izuku then shot off like a rocket into the testing grounds and others just stood and stared. "What are you doing?" President Mike yelled, "That kid's got the right idea. Nowhere in the field will anyone prepare you. Go, go, go." With that, the entrance exams have begun. Every time Izuku turned his head, he saw another robot. Every robot that Izuku saw, he swiftly destroyed it. He had lost count of his points a while ago. He knows that he is somewhere above 60 though. He did not discriminate on robots, be it a 3-pointer or lowly 1-pointer, he destroyed them all the same. With every destroyed robot, Izuku was growing more and more excited. This is what he had been missing in all his months of training for UA. It was the call to battle, to mercilessly crush anything that stood in his way. He had lost his shirt along the way. As he got up close and personal, the uniform was cut from all the edges of metal that didn't even harm Izuku. All he had were his black shorts that went to his upper calves. He didn't even wear shoes. He gained a dislike for them the more power he gained. So, for battles, he doesn't wear any. It's not like the pavement or anything could harm him since through his training his skin has toughened up to high levels of resistance. Izuku moved quickly using his enhanced senses to locate any robot. Which was surprisingly easy, he just listened for any movement without a heartbeat attached. As Izuku ran through the streets he saw other participants destroying robots to get their own points and he was seeing who the biggest competition would be once they got to UA. Izuku knows he is powerful, but he is still missing a chunk of his power. He knows once he unlocks it, he will be able to stand against even All Might. No, he knows he will be able to crush All Might once he gets that last chunk. Acnologia's memories tell him as such. So, for now, he will continue to grow and use the power he does have to reach his goal of becoming a hero. He hears a group of robots to his left and sees 3 2-pointers and 1 1-pointer. All 4 robots notice him and charge. Izuku smirks. He knows there is a camera on him right now and a few participants are looking, so he decides to give them a show. He SCKS in a large amount of air and fills his lungs with oxygen and magical power. Dragon's roar. Izuku bellows as he launches his blast at the robots, who stood no chance of surviving the attack and were blown away. Izuku exhales and smirks again and is off to look for more. He sees a small-looking guy with ball on his head trying to destroy a couple of 3-pointers with these sticky ball and isn't doing too well. One swings its arm and hits the kid, who flies away screaming, while the second locks on the purple guy and launches a rocket. The ball guy doesn't have his bearings together, so Izuku decides to step in. He uses his magic to move and appear in front of him. Izuku covers his fist in dark green and black power and yells, "Dragon's Destruction Fist," and punches the rocket, blowing it away. The then moves the power from his fist to the end of his pointer finger as he charges up a blast and launches a dark green beam at the second robot, Zero. Izuku calmly states and blasts the second robot to pieces. No chance of fixing that one, Izuku chuckles to himself. He then looks at the first 3-pointer and launches another Zero at it, destroying it as well. Izuku looks back at the ball-haired participant who by this point got his bearings and saw what Izuku did with a shocked expression. "Don't worry, you're fine now," Izuku tells him. "Fine? You think I'm fine? You just cost me 6 points? Now how am I going to become a hero and get women?" He yells at Izuku with a look of rage on his face. Izuku narrows his eyes at him and snarls, "I just saved your butt and that's how you say thanks." The guy widens his eyes and starts shaking because of the pressure Izuku was making. "You want to be a hero to get women? That is the lowest reason I have ever heard. That is lower than fame and money. If you do make it into UA and I hear one instance you perving on any of the women, I am personally going to destroy what makes you a man. Do you understand?" Izuku stares him down with a look of death and assurance. Ball Guys just nodded his head rapidly, too frightened to speak. Izuku huffs and turns away and without another word heads in a different direction, looking for more points. "Looks like we have a good crop this year." The gun hero Snipe remarks. "Yes, all of them look to be doing pretty well," comments the R-rated hero Midnight. The Dean Nizu just hums. "Any of them look good to you?" he asks the skeletal All Might sitting next to him. He sighs and says, "All of them look to have great potential." Having his eye on the boy he left to end his own life 10 months ago. Nizu then freezes and says, "Computer change to testing ground B and lock on to participant 7443. All screens lock on to our one and only Izuku Midoriya, who had just come across a group of robots. All the teachers saw as he smirked at the advancing group of robots and roared a blast at them. They were obliterated, nothing was left. This shocked a few teachers seeing him just take out the robots no problem. "Who is that kid?" Snipe asks, wanting to know what that Quirk was. "I don't know and I don't care. Do you see that body?" Midnight comments as she drools over the image of Izuku. Many roll their eyes at her antics. His name is Izuku Midoriya and it says here his quirk is energy control. He can absorb or negate all kinds of energy, be it kinetic, heat, light, etc., and if he absorbs it, he stockpiles it and can use it to launch attacks or enhance his body. Nizu remarks. All other teachers were in awe. Explanation of Izuku's quirk. Even Aizawa's eyes widen at the explanation. All Might smiled a little at that, happy that the kid at least got a strong quirk after so much abuse. Wow, that must have taken a long time to learn and control his quirk to such a degree. Ectoplasm comments. That's the thing, his file says he is a late bloomer and didn't get his quirk until 10 months ago when he used for the first time with that sludge villain attack in Mizudafu. That really shocked the teachers. This kid who is dominating the test only had his quirk for 10 months. It was unheard of. I want him, was all the Aizawa said after that information was said. This kid was quirkless for 14 years and it looked like he worked his butt off to power up and control his quirk in 10 months. This kid screamed potential. And Aizawa wanted this kid in his class. Don't worry if he passes, he is definitely going to be your problem, Aizawa, Nizu said as they watched Izuku. They saw him move in front of a down participant and at that moment Nizu activated the audio on the camera on Izuku now. They heard the attack name for his punch. They thought it was good he already had super move but confused on why he called it what he did. Then they saw him pool his power into the end of his finger and heard him say that attack name. Many wondered what he meant and Nizu informed them it was Spanish for 0. They finally heard his conversation with the participant, and many were nodding their heads agreeing with Izuku. Nizu then docked 10 points from participant Mineta for non-heroic actions. No one batted an eye. Back to Izuku, he had destroyed a few more robots at this time and heard the 3-minute warning and decided to start heading back to the gate. That was when he felt the vibrations and heard the monstrosity that was the 0-pointer. Izuku turned and saw it. The robot was huge and was easily 10 stories tall. Izuku felt his blood pump through him as he felt excitement. Finally, a challenge. He was about to go crazy and go attack that thing on pure instinct when he heard a shout. His head snapped down to the ground where he saw a girl with brown hair in a bob cut trapped under a piece of rubble. She looked to be in pain and was struggling. He zeroed in on her and saw the arm of the robot fall towards her. Izuku then moved and was at her side in a flash. He then roared out, "Dragon's Destruction Fist," and struck the piece of cement and shattered it. "You all right? Can you walk?" he asked her. "No, I think I broke my ankle," she replied while struggling with the pain. Izuku looked up and saw the hand. He brought his hands up and caught the robot's appendage. Izuku's feet broke the ground from the pressure. He put all that had to hold the arm and he wasn't budging. "Can you crawl?" Izuku yelled at her. She looked at him with wide eyes and slowly nodded. "Then crawl," he roared at her even louder and angrier that she was just sitting there. She jumped and started crawling away as fast as she could. Izuku looked after her for a few seconds then turned back to the robot. They were at a stalemate and that was just pissing Izuku off. He should be stronger than this, he was. His head shot up. That's right, he wasn't just Izuku Midoriya anymore, he was the goddamn Dragon King Acnologia. He then felt something deep within him burn. He felt his power well up and surge. More power than he has felt in this body before. Play Monster by Skillet. Then it struck him, the next bit of knowledge and memories of his other life. Izuku then decided to do the thing that felt right. He roared at the top of his lungs and his body swam in magical power that covered his body and blocked all sight of him. The power was black and dark green and it grew around him until it was the size of the robot before him. From the aura of power, a giant clawed hand shot out and punched the robot right in its face. It flew back a good couple 100 feet and landed with a crash. It was then that the offending arm swung around and got rid of the aura and it revealed a mighty dragon standing on hind legs, scaled angel-looking wings spreading out as it roared at the sky. Everyone watching, be it participants or teachers, were shocked at what they were looking at. This dragon was as tall or a little taller than the 0-pointer. It also had a stronger build. This dragon was colored black with a dark green color pattern on the black body. The underbelly was a dark matte silver. It was the only part on the dragon that was not black or dark green, excluding the white eyes and teeth. For reference, just look up Acnologia dragon form and turn all blue on that form to dark green. The dragon then turned its attention back to the giant robot trying to stand. The dragon growled, rose up about 1,000 feet in the air, and started to take a deep breath. Roar! The dragon bellowed as it shot a large dark green and black blast from its mouth at the robot. The second, It connected, the robot exploded and was incinerated, leaving nothing left of the robot. The dragon then roared to the heavens one last time and started to lower back to the ground. End song. If listening. When it landed, it was surrounded with magic power again, but the watchers could tell it was shrinking down. When the power disappeared, there stood Izuku, looking no worse for wear. His shorts look a little cut up, but otherwise he looked fine. At all the shocked faces aimed at him, Izuku just smirked at them. "What, never seen a dragon before?" he asked sarcastically. Then noticed the brown-haired girl on the ground staring at him in awe. He walked over to her and picked her up bridal style and started walking towards the gate. She was too blown away to even react. That was until he laid her back on the ground in front of Recovery Girl. "Thank you for saving me," she barely mumbled out while she blushed like a tomato. Izuku just chuckled lightly. "It's fine, it was just the right thing to do." He then turned to Recovery Girl. "Can you heal her?" he asked the youthful hero. "Of course, I can, Sonny. I've been doing this longer than you have been alive," she said back to him with a gentle huff. Izuku smirked at that, thinking about all the years Acnologia has been alive. "You probably tired yourself out with that transformation. Here, have some gummies," Recovery Girl said as she handed him some gummies. Izuku smiled at that. "Thank you, you are right, though I am pretty drained. That is the first time I used that transformation." Recovery Girl didn't show it, but on the inside, she was shocked to the core. That was the first time he used that transformation. Then think of the powerhouse he will be when he learns to control it. She internally shivered. She thanked every deity she could think of that he wanted to be a hero. "All right, get back to the bus, test is over," she said. Izuku thanked her again and looked at the brown-haired girl. "Hope to see you in UA," he said as he turned and headed for the gate. Half an hour later, he was walking towards the entrance gate of UA, where he saw Mei standing there tinkering with something. He smiled when he saw her and called out. She looked up and gave him a blinding smile and ran towards him. "I see," she yelled as she barreled into his chest for a tight hug. He groaned when she hit him. "Mei, please let go, I am really sore," he told her. She looked at him puzzled because she knows she has never seen him sore before. "How are you sore? You are never sore," she commented now that she let go and looked him in the eye. "Well, when you try to hold back a 40-story robot with your bare hands and then turn into a just as big but dragon and destroy it, you get to be sore," he said. Mei was utter shocked. "You turned into a dragon?" she yelled, which really hurt Izuku's ears, so he winced. "Yes, I did. This was the first time I ever have done it," he replied. Mei was still flabbergasted on how he did it. Izuku got a serious face and said, "I'll tell you how, but you need the full story first, and I need to tell you that in private, okay? I'll tell you tomorrow since we won't have school and it will take a while and I'm sure you will have questions." Mei saw his serious face and nodded, knowing this was big deal. They then turned and started walking home. True to his word, Izuku met Mei the next day and explained all that had transpired those 10 months ago. Izuku talked about his life before that day, and Mei wore a sad and somber expression at that. Then Izuku started to talk about his day he got his powers. He talked about the school day beforehand, being attacked by the sludge villain, meeting All Might, getting his dreams crushed, committing suicide, then what he experienced in the void and how he talked to Acnologia and death. How he is now a fused soul and how he saved Bakugo and chewed out All Might. By the end of it, Mei was in tears and hugging him, telling him that she is his friend, will always be there for him no matter what. He just smiled softly and hugged her back and thanked her. He saw or talked to Mei every day after that until their letters appeared. Mei opened hers first and it showed Power Loader as a hologram. He said she did well on her written test and her entry project. He also said she passed with flying colors for the invention they had to make for a test. He finished with a welcome to the support course, and said that information on what dorm she was in and move-in day were in the envelope. Mei squealed loudly, that hurt Izuku's ears, but he didn't care. He just bear hugged her and congratulated her. They did his next and who appeared, but All Might. He congratulated him on how well he did. All Might said that Izuku got a perfect on the written, which was unheard of before. Next, All Might told him to pass the physical test with an impressive 100 villain points, and also gained some coveted hero points for heroic actions during the test. He got a total of 90 hero points, meaning Izuku got a total of 190 points on the physical exam, which was even higher than All Might got back in the day. He told Izuku it was time for his hero academia. All Might wished him luck and said the same about the move-in day, which would start on the Friday before school starts and go through the Sunday. Both Izuku and Mei jumped for joy at this. They were both laughing and giggling. They both got into UA and didn't just pass but blown it out of the water. Things were starting to look up. The following month Izuku noticed a couple of other changes that were occurring to him since his first ever dragon transformation. The first change was that of his pupils. They were now slits like that of a snake, or in his case a dragon. Also, his skin tone darkened a little bit. Nowhere as dark as Acnologia, but it looked like he got a very healthy tan. His hair was now a bit longer and went to Izuku's mid-back just like Acnologia's once was. With the way he looked one would suspect that Acnologia was his father and got his characteristics and his mother's coloring. Because of his transformation in the middle of the exam, Izuku had to change his Quirk registry again. He added the transformation and updated his energy control. He changed it from energy to Quirk output and described it sort of how death did leave out the MT lady and All Might example though, but still explained it if a physical attack happened caused by a Quirk. He also noticed because of the dragon transformation is that the chunk of power he was missing before was now unlocked. He couldn't use all of it, but he could feel it slowly bleed into him. Since he was keeping up with his physical training, the power flowed faster. He and Mei were both preparing for the move-in weekend that UA had. Mei was still a little upset the dorms were based on the course you were in because she wanted to be in the same building as Izuku. He assured her they could hang out all the time still and that they were going to be living closer together than before. That got her out of her bad mood right quick. Her quick 180 caused Izuku to chuckle at her. They decided to move on Saturday so they could get comfortable in the dorms and have the whole day of Sunday to relax. Inko called Izuku's dad Hisashi and told him the wonderful news about Izuku getting into UA. He had her pass the phone to Izuku. He congratulated Izuku and told Izuku he was so proud of him for reaching his dream. He did ask Izuku for his reasons to be a hero again. Izuku told him is original again, which was the need to save people with a smile. His father tells him that is a commendable reason and most heroes don't have as good of a reason as that. But then Izuku smirks and tells his father the new reason, I have another reason too now. I want to be a hero out of spite. I want to show these people that a once quirkless person can rise above the rest of the heroes. There was a small pause of silence on the other end of the line, then Izuku hears just roaring laughter. He swears his father laughed for a minute straight. Before Izuku can ask his father if he is alright, his father responds with what Izuku can tell is a smile. That is the greatest thing I have ever heard, I swear. His father chuckles. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it? I can't wait to see what you become, Izuku. His father tells him. Izuku smiles and thanks his father and tells him they'll talk later. Hisashi agrees and they hang up. 1 week later, Izuku is all packed up and ready to go. He has a tearful goodbye with his mother. While she is crying, he kind of stopped doing that when he got his power. Izuku has all he needs and walks out the door ready to start his journey to become a hero. He meets up with Mei at the train station, who looks like to be carrying kind of light. When he asks her about it, she smiles and tells him that she had a baby take what she needed there already. A little affront that she didn't do that for him. She laughed and said with these big strong muscles he wouldn't need the help as she grabbed his arm and gave a good squeeze. He just smiled at her and laughed. He was extremely happy to have Mei in his life. She was all the positive reinforcement that he will ever need. They made it to UA. They walked through the gate with no problem because of the IDs they got with their acceptance letters. They started heading towards where the dorm buildings were and they saw that Izuku's was closer, so they headed towards his first. Once they got there, Izuku opened the main door and looked around the common area. It was a spacious living room with 3 long L-shaped couches. Izuku could halfway see through another doorway and see a kitchen. Then a scent hit him. They were not alone in this room. Izuku snapped to the floor in the middle area between the couches and saw a large yellow sleeping bag. It was zipped up and the only thing visible about you was inside was a scruffy bearded face. Mei noticed where he was looking and looked over herself. So, who's the homeless guy? She asked Izuku. At hearing the question, The eyes of the man in the sleeping bag snapped open and looked at the two of them. He scanned them both. He then turned his eyes to Mei. "You aren't part of the hero course, leave," he said very bluntly. At that comment, Izuku narrowed his eyes at the man and stepped in front of Mei. "No, she isn't," Izuku said. "She is in the support course though, and my friend, and she is also going to help me move my stuff in before we go and check out her dorm. I hope that won't be a problem." Izuku finished with a wide fake smile that showed off his slightly sharpened teeth and slightly elongated canines. The man just looked at him for a second. After a moment he smirked at Izuku and said, "No, it won't be, just don't make a lot of noise and don't break the bed this early into the semester." He finished with a wide creepy smile as well. Izuku froze. Did this guy think they got here early just to have a CC? Before Izuku could even come up with a reply, Mei beat him to it. "Aizu, how can we break the bed?" Somehow the guy in the sleeping bag's smile got even bigger and he chuckled at that. With that laugh, he stood up and unzipped the sleeping bag. The man was wearing a black jumpsuit and with black combat boots, a gray belt and a gray scarf around his neck. He also had long, unkempt black hair that went down to his upper back. "My name is Shota Aizawa and I am going to be your dorm advisor and your homeroom teacher until you graduate. A couple of quick things: the kitchen is stocked, the showers are separated by gender and are ready to be used. I'll go into the bigger spiel when all the students are moved in," he told Izuku. Izuku just nodded, and with that, he thanked Aizawa for his time. He then grabbed Mei, dragged her away when she was still confused about the bed thing. Aizawa just looked after them and smirked. He then groaned a little bit, knowing that even with all that kid's potential he was going to be a problem child. He just knew it. Once they got to the third floor where Izuku's room was, they found his door and unlocked it. They walked in and saw it had the bare necessities. It had a bed, desk, dresser plus a closet. There was an attached toilet and sink and a small bathroom connected to the room. "Well, I'm going to assume all of the rooms look like this one unless you modify it," Izuku said to Mei, who just nodded. They got to work, and it only took them half an hour to put all his stuff away. He only brought clothes, a laptop, TV, a few of his free weights for a light workout, and his journals with extra school supplies. He did bring a big beanbag chair for whenever Mei came over though. They then made his bed and they were all done. They decided to go check hers out and set up her room since they knew her stuff was already there. When they went back downstairs, no one else but Aizawa was there yet. He looked at them and smirked. Before he could open his mouth, Izuku told him, "We are going to set up her room now, and no, we didn't break the bed." Aizawa just kept his smirk and said, "Not yet anyway, there is still time." As he nodded sagely, Izuku just face-bombed and pushed Mei out the door before she could inquire more. It took a 5-minute walk to get to Mei's dorm building. They opened the main door and inside sat Power Loader with watching the TV. He looked at them and gave the same spiel Aizawa did, so they went up to Mei's dorm room. Another half an hour was spent getting her room set up. They decided to watch a movie, so they went downstairs to get food and drinks. They made popcorn and grabbed a couple of sodas and went back up. They turned on Netflix and started watching a random action movie. They both on the back half of her bed so their backs were against the wall. About 20 minutes into the movie, Mei started leaning on Izuku. Her head was on his shoulder and she let out a sigh when she did it. He looked at her out of the corner of his eye but saw her eyes were still on the movie. He didn't really mind it, in all actuality it felt pretty good. He could really smell her no. She obviously had taken a shower this morning because she really smelled like the green apple he noticed when he first met her. It must be her shampoo, Izuku thought. After about 5 minutes of Mei leaning on him, Izuku shifted. He lifted his arm, so it moved her head off his shoulder and put it on his chest as he wrapped that arm around her shoulders. She snuggled into him more, making a sound of thanks. He just smiled and continued to watch the movie. About 3 hours later it was late and Izuku had to go back to his dorm and sleep. They thanked her for her help earlier in the day and bid her farewell. Once Izuku got to the common room, Power Loader was still there. He turned to Izuku, smirked and gave him a thumbs up. Izuku just scoffed and rolled his eyes and left. He stepped outside and took a deep breath. He just knows this was going to be a good experience. He went back to his dorm building and when he went in he saw Aizawa still on the floor. Izuku cleared his throat, and when Aizawa opened his eyes, Izuku asked him if where the weight room on campus was. Aizawa told him it was in the auxiliary building. Izuku thanked him and then went to his room and went to bed. Izuku got up at his normal 6 a.m. and put on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt to start his morning run. He didn't have shoes on because again he doesn't like them when he is being physical. He began his run. He ran the circumference of campus about 5 times for a nice warm-up. The entire time he felt like someone was watching him. He didn't notice the cameras and chucked it up to that. He then went to the weight room and began his lifting. He did an all-around circuit today. He did bench press, lat pulls down, curls, triceps extensions, and squats. Even without his magic enhancing him, Izuku was strong. He would bench double his body weight and do about 100 pull-ups in a row without fail. After he was done, he went back to the dorm and saw some boxes outside, meaning that someone else was moving in. As he walked up, he saw a tall black-haired girl which was kept in a tight spiky ponytail. She wasn't as tall as him but add a few inches on Mei. She looked to be 5 feet 9 inches and have a slimmer build, but she wasn't skinny. She also looked to be well endowed with a killer figure. Her biceps looked to be as big or a little bigger than Mei's, and that was saying something. She was wearing a nice white with a light blue floral pattern sundress. Some men were hauling the things in for her. Must be rich. Izuku thought as he walked up. That is when she noticed him, and when she did, she blushed. That confused for a second when he realized he is not wearing a shirt. He took it off when he started his weight training. Oh, sorry about this. My shirt got really sweaty during my workout, so I took it off, Izuku explained to her with a small smile. Oh, that's quite alright, sorry for making you feel uncomfortable. My name is Momo Yaoyorozu. You can call me Momo though. She said to him with a small smile of her own. That's okay, my name is Izuku Midoriya, and you can call me Izuku as well because I hate formalities, Izuku informed her. This happened when Acnologia's personality fully integrated with Izuku's. Well, do you need any help? Izuku asked her. Oh, no thank you, but thanks for the offer though, Momo replied. Izuku just nodded and wished her a good day as he went to take a shower. After that he hung out in his room for the rest of the day. He only went out at lunch to get food, then he went back to his room and laid around hours. That is when he heard a knock on his door. Izuku went to answer, and when he opened, up there stood a blonde-haired guy with a black lightning bolt in his hair. He was wearing a gray t-shirt and black sweatpants. He smiled when he saw Izuku. Hi, my name is Denki Kaminari, and Momo mentioned you would be in your room. You are the only one not in the common area, and we all decided to eat with each other and get to know each other a little bit. The now named Kaminari said. Izuku smiled at him and said he will be down in a minute. Izuku grabbed his phone and left his room to meet the others in his class. When he got downstairs, he saw a wide variety of people. Okay, everyone is going to look the same to the anime except one person who I will describe. The only difference will be everyone is slightly taller, and the guys will have slightly bigger builds since they are older, and girls will be a little bit more well-endowed because they have more mature bodies. Remember, this is a college AU and everyone is either 18 or older. He could tell that everyone had such a different variety of quirks. One person caught his eye because they were staring at him. She a unique appearance. She 2 different colors for her hair, the right half was white, and the left half was red. She had her hair was long and she had it pulled into a ponytail that went down to her mid-back. She and 2 different colored eyes as well. The right was gray, and the left was the bright blue. She did have this burn scar that covered her left eye. For some reason found it kind of attractive, he could not tell you why. She was about 2 inches shorter than Momo, so she was only a little taller than Mei. She was wearing a tight sweater and a long skirt. She was well endowed as well. Not as much as Momo but about the same size as Mei. Before he could ask why she was staring at him, he was then noticed by the rest of the class. That is when the glasses guy stood up and walked over to him. Izuku narrowed his eyes at him and crossed his arms. That is when the guy bowed to him. It was a perfect 90-degree bow of the waist. I am sorry about how I acted at the entrance exam. You showed that you were a proper hero when you took down the 0-pointer to save that girl, and I just wanted to introduce myself and get off on the right foot. The glasses boy said. Izuku widens his eyes at him. He then uncrossed his arms and put out his hand with a smirk and said, "All is forgiven, and my name is Izuku Midoriya, but you can call me Izuku." He then turned his head to the rest of the class. "That goes to the rest of you as well. Call me Izuku. I hate formalities." Many smiled at him for that while the glass boy straightened and took Izuku's hand in his own for a handshake. "Thank you, Izuku. You are a perfect example of a hero. My name is Tenya Ida and I hope we get along," Ida said to Izuku. Izuku just nodded and they went sit with the others and started chatting and eating with them. The brown-haired girl from the exam introduced herself as Achiko Uraraka and thanked him again for saving her. Izuku just waved it off saying it was no big deal. The frog girl who wanted to be called Tsu then asked Izuku a question that caught the others' attention. "Izuku, I am a blunt person, so I am going to be blunt. Why are my frog instincts screaming that you are an apex predator?" This made Izuku smirk. "That is just because of my transformation," Izuku said, which caused everyone who didn't see his transformation to look confused. They wondered what that was until Ida spoke up. "Indeed, and it is an impressive transformation. He used it to destroy the zero-pointer. There was nothing left once Izuku was done with it." Caused everyone who was in the entrance exams to widen their eyes. "Wait, you obliterated the zero-pointer?" The pink-skinned Mina yelled out in shock. "Indeed I did," Izuku said as he took a drink. "I could have beaten it without the transformation, but it would have taken longer." He informed them. "What is your transformation?" asked the now-named Shoko Todoroki. "I turn into a dragon," Izuku said with nonchalance. "Like the dragon hero Ryukyu?" Momo asked. "No, mine is completely different. I would show you, but I don't think I have permission," Izuku said. Just then Aizawa popped up and said, "I'll allow it as long as you don't break anything." With that said, he walked to the front door and opened it for them. Everyone got up and headed outside to see the transformation. Izuku walked away from the building when he started heading back to the group. They looked at him confused until he spoke. "My transformation destroys my shirt. Can someone hold on to it for a second?" Aizawa then put out his hand, so Izuku took off his shirt and handed it to him. The girls all blushed at his shirtless self. Even the stoic girl Shoko had a tint of pink on her cheeks. Some guy congratulated him on his build. Izuku then walked away to a good spot. He hadn't done this since the exam, but he did have way more power than before, so he is sure it won't tire him out. He took a deep breath and roared. The magical power swarmed him, and he felt his size increase. His classmates watched in awe at the display. His aura kept growing. It peaked and then the aura disappeared, leaving Izuku in his black dragon form. He roared again as the dragon and then looked down at his classmates. The first thing he heard was the redhead Kirishima yell how manly he looked, and others agreed. Izuku was about to power down when he heard a girl shriek to his left. He turned and he saw Mei barreling towards him. She was shouting how cool he looked, and she had to make sure his costume could handle the transformation. He then chuckled in dragon form and powered down. Once he was back in his base form, Mei barreled into his chest saying he looked cooler than she ever imagined when he told her about his transformation. Izuku just chuckled and patted her head. While this was going on, his classmates just stared. Some of the girls were jealous that Mei got to touch and hug Izuku's god-tier body. Aizawa saw the girls' faces and smirked in this scarf. "Problem child, you are either the luckiest man alive or the unluckiest. It is too early to tell." Aizawa then spoke up and told them all they need to head back in because it was a class day tomorrow. When Mei tried to follow Izuku in, Aizawa caught her with his scarf. Izuku growled a little at this and made Aizawa widen his eyes at Izuku. He then let her go but said she had to go back to her dorm. Mei pouted cutely at this, so Izuku chuckled at this and said they will talk tomorrow. She just smiled at him and gave him one last hug and left. The next day everyone was in their classroom with time to spare. They were all chatting when Aizawa walked and told them to put on these gym uniforms and meet him outside. He told them they were going a Quirk appreciation test. When asked about orientation, he said it was a waste of time. "Izuku Midoriya, you got first in the entrance exam. How far could you throw a softball in high school?" he asked Izuku. 100 meters, Izuku responded. "Do it with your quirk now and don't hold back, but don't use our dragon form," Aizawa told him. Izuku walked up to the circle and took a deep breath. He then poured power into his right hand. He tossed the ball up and punched it while yelling, "Dragon's destruction fist." The ball was sent flying. Everyone was in awe except Bakugo, who just scoffed. Aizawa looked at his phone and held it up for everyone to see. They were shocked it said 1102 meters. Izuku just smirked. He knew he still hadn't reached his full potential yet. Someone said how fun this was going to be. That made Aizawa's eye twitch, so he informed them whoever came in the last place would be kicked out of the university. This made everyone get serious. Izuku blew through every event. He got first in all but flexibility and ball throw because Uraraka got infinite. When the tests were over, the person in last was someone named Hitoshi Shinso. Izuku never saw him use a quirk, so he figured it was a mental one. When Aizawa told them it was a logical ruse, Izuku chuckled at all the reactions. He then dismissed them to spend the rest of the day as they pleased. Izuku then walked up the Shinso guy and asked him what his workout plan was. He just looked at Izuku confused, so Izuku told him from now on he was going to work out with Izuku every morning at 6 a.m. Before he could refuse, Izuku told him a hero needs to rely on more than just their quirk. He needs to be physically strong as well. Shinso reluctantly agreed, and Izuku told him they were starting tomorrow. They met up with Ida and Uraraka, and the four of them headed back to the dorms. This is going to be a great year, Izuku thought, not knowing what was to come. The next day, after his morning workout and getting Shinso into a routine of his own, he got ready for the first official day of classes. After his shower, he was putting on his uniform when he looked at the tie. He just threw it back in his closet knowing he didn't know how to tie it. He went downstairs to make himself some eggs and toast. Others were going through their morning routines. He cracked a smile at how dazed some of the girls looked before they got their coffee. Izuku finished his breakfast, washed his dishes, and headed out the door. When he took a glance around, he saw Mei was walking to school as well, while tinkering with something. Huh. She looks good in her uniform, Izuku thought to himself. He then widened his eyes at his own thoughts. Izuku breathed out and shook his head, trying to get rid of those kinds of thoughts. He started to jog towards her when he heard something. He heard a couple second years whispering about how easy of a lay the pink-haired girl could be since she was alone and looked lonely. That sparked something in Izuku. He has always hated perverts and those who treat women as objects. But this caused something dark and instinctual to claw its way out of Izuku's chest. He growled and appeared in front of the two boys. Izuku was good 4 inches taller than both. So, he looked down at them with glowing green eyes and his slit pupils. His sudden appearance made the two boys jump a little bit. Before either could do or say anything, Izuku grabbed one shoulder from each boy and squeezed tightly, making both boys cry a bit in pain. Izuku then brought out his new twisted smile that sent shivers down each of the boys' spine. You go anywhere near her or even fantasies about her or even bring her up in conversation again, I am going break you. Do you both understand? Izuku asked. When neither said anything for a second, so Izuku squeezed harder until they whined again. Do you understand? Izuku growled out, releasing some of his magic power. Both started nodding their heads so fast Izuku thought they would fly off. Good, glad we could come to an understanding, Izuku said, patting them on the shoulder he just about crushed. With that, he turned around and moved quickly to appear beside Mei and bid her a good morning. She smiled at him and said good morning to him. As he walked beside her, Izuku walked a little closer than he normally would, hoping she wouldn't question or even notice it. He was relieved when she didn't say anything, and they walked to the main building in comfortable silence. What Izuku didn't know is that Mei did notice and just decided not to say anything. She saw what happened just a minute before when he leaked his power out. She looked back and saw what he did and heard what he said. She found it strangely sweet. She knew that made him feel better, so she just let him get away with it. They split up when they had to go to their separate courses and promised to get lunch together. Izuku made it to his classroom. He put his things on at his desk and started talking to Ida and Shinso. Aizawa walked in and homeroom started. Then they had English, then literature, then modern art history, lunch where Izuku, Mei, Ida, Shinso, and Uraraka ate together. They had math, and now finally the class everyone was looking forward to. Izuku heard him a good 20 seconds before he came into the room. Izuku gained a scowl, leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, and waited. His actions made many looks at him wondering why he was acting like he was. Even Bakugo looked back with his own scowl but with confusion in his eyes. "I am coming through the door like a hero," All Might proudly declared as he entered the room. Many starting whispering or looking in awe at the number one hero All Might. Izuku just kept his scowl and narrowed his eyes at All Might, who strutted up to the podium and scanned the room. When he saw Izuku's face he flinched a little, but it was too quick for anyone other than Izuku to notice. "Alright, young ones, it is time for the class this course is named after. Hero Foundations. And today we are doing something special. Battle Trials." All Might informed the class. "Battle." Both Izuku and Bakugo said at the same time with similar grins. They both then looked at each other with mild shock, but their grins grew as they looked at each other with intensity. "But before you play hero you need to look the part," All Might said as he clicked the button on a remote and cases started coming out of the wall. "These are the costumes you submitted to the school before the school year. Meet me on ground beta in 20 minutes. He told them as he rushed out of the room. Everyone was walking out of the tunnel. They saw All Might waiting for them. Everyone was in their respective hero costume. Many were complimenting each other. When Uraraka noticed Shinso, she said he almost looked like an Aizawa cosplayer, which was almost true. He had a dark gray, almost black jumpsuit with black combat boots and a black belt. He also had a scarf like Aizawa's, but his scarf was black. Shinso has been getting trained by Aizawa, but he and done much muscle training yet. That is why he did do so hot yesterday. He spent most of his time trying to be able to use the capture weapon. He thanked her and turned when he heard someone walk up behind him. He was shocked at what he saw. Izuku looked decked out in his outfit. He wanted something simple like in his other life as Acnologia, but Mei had been adamant that she should make his outfit. She promised he wouldn't be disappointed, and she wasn't wrong. He wore a pair of loose black combat pants that Mei made sure they were almost anything proof. He also wore a pair of armored boots that covered his whole foot that was dark silver on top and was a matte dark green around the sides and bottom. He had to fight her on the shoes until she threatened that she would take his hero journals. He and finally relented. He had these shin guards that started just above the ankle of his knee. The whole back of his lower leg was covered, but only about mid-shin and up was covered on the front side. He wore a dark green sash as a belt for his pants. He didn't wear a shirt, but he did have a black cloak wrapped around him. It was purposely torn up at the bottom. The cloak was made of the same material as his pants, but a little more lightweight than his pants though. All in all, a mixture of his and Mei's style. Before Shinso could compliment him on his costume, All Might began class. He explained that it would be a 2-on-2 indoor battle trial. Heroes versus villains. The heroes had 10 minutes to find the villains and either capture both villains or the bomb. While the villains had to defend the bomb and either beat both heroes or they had to run down the clock. They picked teams at random. The matchups were Izuku Midoriya and Hitoshi Shinso, Team A, versus Katsuki Bakugo and Tenya Ida, Team D. Shoko Todoroki and Mizo Shoji, Team B, versus Mashireo Ojiro and Tor Hagakure, Team I. Fumikage Tokoyami and Tsuyu Azui, Team H, versus Eijiro Kirishima and Hanta Siro, Team J. Denki Kaminari and Kyokajiro, Team G, versus Momo Yaoyorozu and Achiko Uraraka, Team C. Yuga Aoyama and Mina Ishido, Team E, versus Rikido Sato and Koji Koda, Team F. The heroes had 5 minutes to prepare before they could go and try to capture the villains. Izuku and Shinso started strategizing outside the building. "So, what is your quirk? I think you know what mine is." Izuku asked Shinso, who at the question got a little uncomfortable. "It's called brainwashing. If I ask someone question with it activated and they respond, they lose control of themselves. I can make them do little things that don't require much effort." Shinso told Izuku, waiting for the villain comment. "Wow, that is an amazing quirk," Izuku exclaimed. "Think about all the people you could help with it. Any hostage situation or suicide attempt you could stop or defuse. What a great quirk for a hero," Izuku told him while Shinso looked at him in shock. "You don't think it is a villain's quirk?" Shinso asked him. "Only if you think mine is," Izuku said. "Any quirk could be used for villainy. It is the user to use the quirk the right way." Izuku informed him. Shinso just stared then cracked a smile. Okay, so what's the plan? Izuku informed him about his and Bakugo's history and that Bakugo will be gunning for him. So Shinso should go look for Ida and keep a low profile. Inform Izuku if he finds Ida. With that their time is up. So, they sneak into the building. They make it to the second floor when Izuku can both hear and smell Bakugo. According to both this senses Bakugo is right around the next corner lying in wait. He stops. Shinso whispers for him to go the other way and to go and find Ida. Shinso nods and takes off. Izuku stands up straight, crosses his arms, counts to 5, and then spoke to Bakugo. Come on out Bakugo, it's just you and me. Bakugo comes stomping around the corner. He looks at Izuku with a critical eye. How did you know I was there Deku? He snarls at Izuku. Izuku thinks about telling him but then realizes that would give Bakugo the advantage of knowing he has heightened hearing and smell. So, Izuku just chuckles at him. You are as loud as ever Bakugo, that is how I knew you were there. Bullshit, Bakugo said, there is no way you knew I was there. Alright, don't believe me, Izuku said. We have a score to settle, Bakugo says. I am going to crush you and prove I'll be the next #1 hero. And show you that you will always be beneath me. You shitty nerd. Izuku smirks at this. You can try, but enough talk, are we going to fight or what? I'd thought you'd never ask. Bakugo yells as he propels himself at Izuku. His right hand up ready for the large right hook he favors so much. Izuku just dodges without uncrossing his arms. The explosion happens behind him. The noise doesn't affect him like it would have if he didn't train to protect his hearing. Acnologia's memories saving him again. Bakugo turns and swung his other gauntlet at Izuku, who all he does is lift the hand aimed at that side and stops the swing with one finger. Bakugo growls and swings the other gauntlet around to hit Izuku's other side. Izuku just lifts his other arm and blocks that one as well with one finger. Before Bakugo can swear, Izuku kicks him square in the chest. With his armored boots, he knows that is going to hurt. He swears he heard at least 2 ribs crack. Bakugo is trying to get off the ground having a coughing fit. He is staring daggers at Izuku. If looks could kill Izuku would be dead 10 times over now. Izuku just smirks at him, brings up a hand to taunt him over. Bakugo enraged screams and rushes in. He propels himself forward faster than before. He launches a bigger explosion than before but Izuku just tanks it, while he throws a punch and hit the spot he already kicked. He cracked a few more ribs and the pain rocks Bakugo while he is still midair. Izuku then grabs his ankle and slams Bakugo down on the groin. The force of the slam makes Bakugo bounce a bit. Izuku, still with a tight grip on Bakugo's ankle, brings him back up and slams him down again. He does it about 5 more times until he tosses Bakugo down the hall. Bakugo ragdolls until he stops 20 feet down. He starts struggling to get back up. He is breathing heavily and is trying to stand. Izuku just looks at this pathetic display. I told you this wouldn't be easy. Is the message beginning to sink in yet, or am I going to have to kill you? Izuku asks Bakugo, who is still struggling to stand. Just then his right gauntlet flashed. Bakugo saw it and started laughing. This is the end Deku, now that my gauntlet is full you won't win. He brings up the gauntlet and aims it at Izuku. He then grabbed the pin. Right before he pulls it, All Might cut in. Don't young Bakugo, you'll kill him. All Might yells over the mic. He won't die if he dodges, Bakugo said with a manic grin. Young Bakugo dash. He was cut off by Izuku. Mind your own business All Might. This is between him and me. Bakugo's smile widened. Here it comes Deku. He pulls the pin and a wave of explosions head toward Izuku. I can't eat it because it isn't the quirk, now just stored up fluid. Izuku thought. I can tank it. As he stands there motionless. He was engulfed in the explosion. With all the smoke no one could see what happened to him. All Might warned Bakugo if he used that kind of attack again, he would be disqualified. Before Bakugo could complain he heard clapping. He whipped around and saw Izuku hadn't moved an inch and didn't look any different. You thought you had me beaten, didn't you? Well, no worries, I'm fine and we can continue. Before Bakugo could reply to Izuku, Izuku beat him to the punch. Zero, Izuku said and launched a blast from his finger that pierced all the way through left Bakugo's shoulder. Bakugo yelled out in pain as he grabbed the attacked shoulder. That was to make sure you couldn't use the other grenade, Izuku said with his new creepy smile. He then launched a few more zeros hitting Bakugo in several places. Bakugo was in so much pain he couldn't move. He was sprawled on the ground and was groaning. Izuku started walking towards him. How does it feel, Bakugo? He asked Bakugo, who was looking at him now. How does it feel to be weak, powerless, to not be able to fight back? Izuku was getting angrier each passing second. And Bakugo's eyes just widened, realizing what this was about. He then started to feel something he hadn't felt since he was a small child. Fear. Izuku was at his side, covered his hand in power. I want you to remember something, Bakugo. You are completely at my mercy. I want you to remember that this quirkless reject crushed you without any chance of you obtaining victory. With that said, Izuku kicked Bakugo in the head, knocking him out. He then tied him up. He called Shinso on his mic and asked for his status. He said he had found Ida. Izuku told him to brainwash Ida and get the bomb. 15 seconds later, All Might announced that the hero team had won. Izuku gave Bakugo one last look, then walked out the building, not looking back. Once they got back to the communications room, everyone was looking at Izuku with a bit different, not fear yet, but unease would be the right word. All Might asked the class who the MVP was. Momo raised her hand and said it was Ida for trying to protect the bomb and preparing for them. That was only because he didn't know Shinso's quirk that he lost. She started going into more detail on why the others weren't MVP when All Might stopped her and said she was completely right. He then started up the next trial. Izuku looked at Momo with a critical eye. So she is smart, rich, and beautiful. She is the whole package. There was some sarcasm in Izuku's second thought, but he believed his assessment. He continued to observe her. That was until he felt an elbow his side. He turned his head to his left and Shinso was standing there holding his elbow in some obvious pain. Izuku just raised an eyebrow at this. Shinso then looked at him. Stop staring at the poor girl, can't you tell she is uncomfortable? Shinso told him. Izuku looked at him confused until he turned and looked at her again. She had a large blush and was trying not to look in Izuku's direction. Oh my god, why is he staring? Is there something on my face? No, there isn't, because no one else is looking at me like that. It feels like a predator looking at prey. Why is that a little bit of a turn on? No, stop thinking of such things. These were Momo's thoughts now. Izuku just saw her physical reaction and just chuckled and stopped paying attention to her and watched the rest of the battle trials. After the class was over, All Might sprinted away and Izuku knew it was because his time is almost up. We are opposites, All Might. You keep getting weaker and weaker and my strength just keeps increasing. I'll be stronger than you ever were as well. Izuku thought with a smirk. With hero training done, classes were over for the day. Everyone was back in the classroom packing up. That is when he got the question he was waiting for. Hey man, why did you do that to Bakugo? I mean, I know he is a little angry and loud, but he didn't deserve that, said the red-headed Kirishima. Izuku just slowly turned. Let me ask you this. Do I have a strong quirk? Izuku asked him. At this point, everyone was watching with curious eyes and listening. Yeah, of course you do. Does Bakugo have a strong quirk? Izuku asked, cutting him off. Well, yeah, I mean... Again, he was cut off by Izuku. Well, Bakugo has been told that all his life. He has always been told how great he is and what a great hero he will become. Because of that, he gained a superiority complex that was only matched by his inferiority complex. He can't stand it when others are better than him, but he perceives himself above others. Izuku told them all a little about Bakugo. Some widened their eyes, others just kept looking on, knowing there was a little more to this story. You see, Bakugo has always gotten praise and belittled anyone he deemed lower than him. Someone like me, Izuku said. Which confused everyone. Izuku had such a strong quirk, how could Bakugo belittle him over that strong of a quirk? Many of you are confused, I can tell, so let me explain something. Bakugo and I used to be best friends as children. He was still brash back then, but at least he didn't try to actively harm me. He got his quirk when he was supposed to, and that was when the praise started. And I was a late bloomer, so late in fact that I was deemed quirkless and Bakugo started making me his personal punching bag. This shocked others in the room. They knew Bakugo was brash but a bully as well. Even Kirishima gained a slight somber look. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't the only one, but he is the only one that did it almost every day. This went on for years, about 13 years in fact. No one helped me, none of my teachers, no stranger in the street. The second they heard the word quirkless, it was like I was invisible. It wasn't until 1 year ago that I got my quirk, and I worked my butt off to strengthen both my body and quirk to be able to get here. Izuku told them his story. Many were shocked by how powerful he was with only a year of his quirk under his belt. Many now looked at him with respect in their eyes, and the unease from his fight with Bakugo was gone once they knew the reason. He attacked Bakugo so mercilessly. What no one in the 1A classroom is that they had 3 eavesdroppers. The first was Aizawa, who was under the podium. He decided to have word with Bakugo later, and let him know any king of harassment is means for instant expulsion. The second was Bakugo, who was outside the door. He was about to come in to get his things when he heard Kirishima's question. He decided to stay put and listen. What he heard at the beginning set him off, but he couldn't help but begrudgingly agree with Izuku's story. He knew that, but hearing his victim recant his life made Bakugo feel something he never felt before. Guilt. The last eavesdropper was Nizu, who was sitting in his office and watching through the cameras. He knew Izuku was a diamond in the rough, and he was so glad that Izuku still wanted to be a hero. Because if he was a villain, Nizu shuddered at the thought. He had to make sure that Izuku would never turn down that path. Now that he knows Izuku's history, he is going to keep an eye out for him and help him. He knows Izuku has the highest potential. Even more potential than All Might or his successor Mirio. More potential than Japan's symbol of evil, All for One. No, Izuku Midoriya may have the potential of them. Nizu thought as he glances back to his hidden safe, with the only thing in it is one file. The file with a large 7 on it with an immaculate crown above it. He just hopes Izuku doesn't lose himself along the way. The class was getting on a bus to head to an off-campus location for rescue training. Ida was telling them to get on in a specific order. Izuku didn't know what it was. He wasn't paying attention. His thoughts were on yesterday's events. At the beginning of the day, Bakugo was acting differently. He was quieter and more reserved. Izuku wasn't going to question it. When class started, they all voted on who the class rep should be. For some reason, a lot of the class voted for Izuku, and the second most voted was Momo. After the winner was announced, Izuku stood and said his first act as president was to make Ida president. This shocked the class and asked why he did it. Izuku just said he didn't want to deal with the responsibility. He said Ida would make a great president, and with Momo backing him up, they would make a great team. The main thing Izuku was thinking about was what happened at lunch. The alarms suddenly went off. Everyone started panicking. Izuku was just observing this, and when he looked out the window, he saw it was just the reporters, who had been surrounding the campus since they found out All Might was teaching at UA. When Izuku saw this, he decided to do something about it. He roared at the top of his lungs to be heard over the panicking. This made everyone stop and look at him in awe. He then informed them that it was just the reporters, and if this was the next generation of heroes, he can guarantee that at least half of them would die in the field. Having said his piece, he grabbed Mei's hand and ushered her and his friends out of the cafeteria. They had been on the buses and traveling for about 5 minutes when someone said his name and brought him out of his thoughts. Izuku shook his and turned to who had said his name. It was Tsu, who was sitting next to him. Izuku, I just wanted to ask, what exactly is your quirk, because you don't just transform into a dragon, like Ryukyu, but you do those energy attacks as well, and I just wanted to ask is how you use those? Her question caused everyone on the buses either look at him or, in Aizawa's case, start paying attention to the conversation. Yeah, it is kind of hard to explain. You see, my quirk makes me somewhat immune to quirks. That statement alone made everyone give their undivided attention to him. You see, let's just say a fire quirk user like Endeavor would launch a fire blast at me. You see, I would have 2 options in that scenario. I could either absorb the quirk output by eating the flames, or I could just tank the hit and be immune to the fire since it was caused by a quirk. Izuku explained to his audience. Many looked at him shocked. He had a quirk that could negate works or absorb the attacks. That had to be one of the strongest quirks they have ever heard. Aizawa grinned. A problem child indeed, he thought. It was at that moment that Aizawa saw where they were and informed the class that they were arriving at their destination. The bus pulled up to a huge facility. They all got off and headed inside. When they got to the landing near the stairs, they were introduced to the rescue hero 13. Aizawa and 13 have a quick conversation where 13 holds up 3 fingers. Izuku knows that means All Might ran out of time before their class. Izuku scoffed at that. Both Aizawa and 13 look at him because of that. Then 13 went on a spiel about how dangerous quirks can be. That is when Izuku picked up multiple scents around the facility. They were not alone. Right before he could say something, he saw a black portal appear down in the main area. Aizawa, we are not alone, Izuku informed him. Aizawa followed his eyes and saw the portal and villains pour out of it. 3 of them caught Izuku and his attention. The portal maker, who looked to be made completely of black smoke, a lanky guy with pale skin, bluish-white hair, and hands covering his body, and finally a huge monstrosity of a creature that looked to as big as All Might and had a weird beak and exposed brain. Aizawa cursed and informed them to get back to the bus. He then dove down the stairs to the plaza to fight the villains and give them time to escape. When the class excluding Izuku turned to leave, they were then confronted by the portal guy. He informed of his name Kurogiri and he told them he could not allow them to escape. Bakugo and Kirishima both launched themselves at the smoky figure. He caught them both in portals and started taking the other students in them as well. Izuku quickly launched a Zero at the portal man. He was unprepared for such an attack and dodged instead of using a portal. Izuku looked around him and saw who was still there. There was 13 Ida, Shoji, Uraraka, Zero, Mina, and Sato. Before Izuku could try to say his plan, 13 tried to use her quirk black hole on Kurogiri. He just used a portal on the quirk and opened it behind 13, so he took himself out. Demon it, Izuku cursed as he saw 13 get taken out. He told Mina and Uraraka to look after her. Izuku was trying to come up with a plan. He knew he would be needed to help Aizawa. So, the next best option for someone to get help would be Ida. He got his fighting force group together and informed them of his plan. They put it into action. He told Ida to get ready to sprint out the door the second he blew it up. He told the rest of the guys they were all distractions to give Ida the chance to escape. They began to distract Kurogiri and trying to make sure he would move out of the way of the door. Finally, Shoji got close enough to tackle him, giving Izuku the time he needed. Dragon's Roar! Izuku bellowed out as he shot his blast at the door. It obliterated the door. At that moment, Ida shot forward and made it through the door in about 5 seconds and was off to get the teachers. It was after that Kurogiri escaped from Shoji's hold and teleported away. Izuku looked back down at the plaza and saw Aizawa was holding his own against the villains. He also saw Kurogiri appear beside the hands guy. He then looked back and informed his classmates he was going to help Aizawa. He told the guys to defend the girls if any villains try to get up the stairs. With that said, Izuku jumped down the stairs barreling towards some villains. Aizawa hadn't been defeated yet. Izuku landed in front of a large man with a mutation quirk that made him look like a lizard man. Before the man could react, Dragon's Destruction Fist. Izuku yelled as he punched the guy in the face as he was sent flying. Midoriya, what are you doing? I told you to escape. Aizawa yelled at Izuku as Izuku took down another villain with an armored kick. Ida got out and is going for help, and it looks like you need a hand, Izuku informed him. Tis, fine, just don't get in over your head, Aizawa replied as he took out another grunt. Oh, would you look at this, another child trying to play hero, the handman said. Tamura Shigaraki, that is the one who came up with the plan to get the student to escape and blew open the doors, Kurogiri told the now named Shigaraki. Really now, so he must be close to a boss level at this early. That is quite scary, Shigaraki commented as he watched Izuku. We need to break All Might's spirit when he gets here, and what better to do that than to kill some of his students, Shigaraki said as he turned to the monster. Kill the kid, Shigaraki ordered the monstrosity. The monster burst forward, faster than many could see as it rushed at Izuku. His instincts were screaming at him. He turned just in time to be punched in the face. He went sent flying into the stairs and crashed into them and broke the stairs quite a bit. Izuku laid there for a second, trying to get his bearings. The force of the punch was caused by a strength quirk, so Izuku to no damage from the hit, but the force was so great it sent him flying. It was the landing that caused a little bit of damage on his back, and he hit his head, dazing him. Not enough to cause a problem, just enough for Izuku to know it was there. Aizawa was shocked by the sight. He hasn't seen Izuku be sent flying before, so it made him a bit more nervous around the monster. He turned to Shigaraki and rushed him. They came to blows. Shigaraki went the eyes, and when Aizawa dodged the hand, Shigaraki grabbed Aizawa's elbow with his other hand. Instantly Aizawa felt a shooting pain in his elbow. He broke the grip Shigaraki had on him and jumped back. He looked at his right elbow and saw some of it was disintegrated. He could see the muscle wrapped around his elbow. He looked back at Shigaraki and said, "So you disintegrate anything you touch with all 5 fingers. Heh, you got it in one eraser head. I knew you were cool," Shigaraki replied. "But remember, you aren't just fighting me, Nomu," Shigaraki called the monster. Before Aizawa could react, he was struck by the creature, which sent him flying. Before he could even get his bearings, the creature appeared again, grabbing Aizawa's leg and slamming him on the ground repeatedly. After a few of those, it just planted Aizawa on the ground and held him there. "I must admit you are pretty cool, Eraser, but let's see how cool you are when you watch your students die." Shigaraki then took off towards where Tsu and Shinso, who were hiding in the water. His hand was an inch from Tsu's face when another hand grabbed Shigaraki's arm. Shigaraki's eyes widened when he turned to see who grabbed his arm. He saw it was Izuku, whose eyes were glowing and giving off a menacing aura. "Don't you touch them," Izuku said as he brought his other hand up and broke Shigaraki's hand. Shigaraki screamed in pain as Izuku swiftly kicked him away from his classmates. He then turned to them and said to get to the entrance. It was then that Shigaraki ordered the Nomu to kill Izuku. Izuku turned in time to catch the punch. He was now prepared for the Nomu's output. Izuku brought up his other hand, covered it in power, and used a destruction fist right to the Nomu's face. It didn't even flinch. "Haha, you didn't think super strength was Nomu's only quirk, did you? No, he also had shock absorption." Shigaraki taunted Izuku as he cradled his hand. "Shock absorption, huh? I need him to get away from Tsu and Shinso," Izuku thought. He then moved away to the middle of the plaza. "I'm over here, come and get me," he told the Nomu, which turned and sprinted towards Izuku. They started clashing, meeting each other fist for fist. They were meeting each other equally. Izuku would be overpowering the monster if its goddamn shock absorption didn't keep canceling about half of his strength with each strike. It was then that a sonic boom happened. That stopped everything. Even the Nomu stopped at and looked behind Izuku, so he turned as well. Standing there at the top of the stairs was All Might, and he wasn't smiling. He rushed down, and every villain about to stand up was knocked back now. He reached Aizawa, who was barely conscious, and took him, Tsu, and Shinso up the stairs. After a few words with them, he appeared just behind Izuku. "Young Midoriya, please head upstairs with Dash." He was then interrupted by Izuku. "No way in hell am I stopping my fight just because you are here. I finally found something that can match me blow for blow, and I am not giving that up." Izuku yelled at him. "How about you go save the other students? They all got warped to different places around the USJ, and I can guarantee they are fighting for their lives. So how about you be a proper hero and save them? This wouldn't be the first time you left me alone, so go." Izuku ranted at him. Izuku's blatant disrespect and genuine hatred for All Might caught Shigaraki off guard. Maybe he isn't just another NPC, he may have a brain after all, Shigaraki thought. Before All Might could respond, Izuku turned around and used another destruction fist on the beast. He then yelled, "Just effing go," as they started fighting the Nomu again. All Might reluctantly left to go find the other students. It took 2 minutes and he found all the missing students and got them back to the top of the stairs. All of them started watching Izuku fight the monster. He had a manic grin the entire time. "Yes, more, give me more. Finally, something I can call all out against." Izuku roared as they battled the Nomu. He jumped back a few steps, stared at the Nomu, who just looked at him, with its dead eyes. "Dragon's wing attack," Izuku called out. The slashes he made took off the creature's arms. Izuku just laughed at the creature, and Tamura looked furious until it started to regenerate. He then informed Izuku that it had another quirk called hyper regeneration. The thing as 4 goddamn quirks. Izuku raged in his head. Okay, every quirk has a weakness. What is this one's regen? Then Izuku saw it the exposed brain. If it takes damage there, would probably slow down or die. So, let's aim for that. Let's try the new attack. Izuku thought as he brought his right hand up. He cut his palm with his left hand. He then pointed his bleeding hand at the Nomu. Grand Ray Zero. Izuku shouts as he fires a Zero that is 5 times the size of the ones he normally uses. It barreled toward the creature as it brought its arms up in a crossguard. The blast hits the monster, causing a huge explosion. When the dust died down, the monster was visible. When the weaker of will people saw the aftermath, they threw up. The monster was missing the upper half of its body, it was just waist and legs now. It collapsed on the ground, it wasn't regenerating. Looks like your All Might killer was defeated. Don't get me wrong, I didn't do this to help All Might, it was only to get a good fight. And I have to say it was a decent one. You cheated, you are a cheater, Tamura growled out as he scratched his neck. No, you are wrong, I am no cheater, I am a secret boss that you don't have the EXP to fight yet. That got Tamura to stop scratching and look at Izuku. Even if you are 1 level lower than the recommended, you will be crushed by me, Izuku told him. Oh, I see my party level was too low. Looks like I'll have to grind to get that up. Tamura replied calmly. Can I have the name of the secret boss? He asked Izuku. Izuku Midoriya, but I don't have a hero name yet, you can call me that when I get one. Izuku Midoriya, huh? Well, I can't wait for until dash. He was cut off by the sound of gunshots. Tamura was shot 3 times before Kurogyari could save him and teleport themselves away. Izuku looked up the stairs and saw the other teachers were there. So, he started walking up the stairs with his hands in his pockets. The students were trying to tell the teachers what happened when Izuku reached the top. When he reached the top, all the students turned to him and started clapping and cheering, saying how he saved them all. He just looked at them and nodded. What caught his attention was the way Nizu was looking at him, like a puzzle he was trying to solve. Nizu asked Izuku was fine after he killed the monster. Izuku met Nizu's eyes and told them that the creature was already dead. He could smell the death wafting off the creature and it was just a puppet for the villains to use. Nizu nodded at this and thanked him for protecting the students. Izuku just nodded and said it's what a hero should do. He then walked out with Nizu to get himself checked out and make a statement with the police. Tamura fell into the bar after Kurogyari teleported them away. Ah, I see things didn't go as planned, someone talking through a TV said. No, they didn't, sensei, was Tamura's reply. So, All Might beat the Nomu? Asked the man. No, it was a kid. He even yelled at All Might to stay out of his fight. It seemed he even hated All Might. Oh, and who was this child that beat the Nomu? It was a kid named Izuku Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya. Are you sure? The man asked, has something akin to genuine wonder and glee bled into his voice. Yes, I'm sure, he told me himself. He could even keep up with the Nomu physically and destroyed the top half of the Nomu with a blast from his hand, Tamura told the man. It is alright, this is just a small setback. You can heal and plan for the future. I'll speak to you soon. The man said before the TV turned off. You are growing powerful, Izuku. I couldn't be prouder. The man said with a chuckle. I can't wait to see you in action at the sports festival. You really are my son. The man said with a smile. The class got back to their dorms about 2 hours after the heroes showed up because of the police questioning them. They spent the longest with Izuku, and after 45 minutes he started to get angry and releasing his power. Nizu then appeared from nowhere and told the police his students needed their rest. When the police left, he informed Class 1A that school would be cancelled tomorrow so they could recuperate and relax. He also informed them they will deliver meals for them that night. Many sighed at that and thanked him. Now that they were back in the dorms, many just trudged to the couches and collapsed on them. Others sat on the floor in front of them. Bakugo and Shoko both excused themselves to go to their rooms. Before anyone could say anything, something came barreling through the front door and tried to tackle Izuku. Many jumped into battle stances until they saw it was Mei clinging to Izuku. He had heard her coming, so he braced himself. That was when they heard sniffling and they all noticed that she was crying, burying her head into Izuku's neck. Izuku just gently wrapped his arms around her and held her as she clung to him and cried. He then looked at the rest of the class, nodded his head, turned around, and started to head up to his room. The rest of the class looked after him. Many had somber faces at seeing Mei cry. Many had seen her around Izuku the past week and knew she was always so upbeat. They knew she must have been terrified about what happened. Many of the girls looked after them. Many felt guilty that they felt a little jealous seeing Izuku hold her. Once Izuku got into his room, he walked over to his bed and sat down. Mei was still hanging to his front like a koala. He then slowly pried her off him and set her in his lap. She was still facing him though, and her face was still buried in his neck. He just rubbed her back and whispered into her ear that he was all right and everything was fine. After 10 minutes, she finally lifted her head from the crook of his neck and finally looked at him in the eye. Izuku saw a stray tear and brought up a hand to wipe it away with his thumb as he cupped her face. She leaned into the touch and sighed. Then Izuku felt like he was struck by lightning. He felt something bubble up and surge from his heart. It covered his whole body and it made him feel warm and calm. He looked at her and she just looked so beautiful. She just looked at him with half-lidded eyes. He could just see her wonderful golden crosshair eyes. He slowly pulled forward and kissed her. She froze for one moment, then she kissed him back, and after another moment melted into the kiss. Her lips tasted of chocolate, which he knew she loved with a passion almost as much as her babies. Izuku had often thought how kissable her lips were, and now he was finally doing it, and it felt amazing. He wrapped his arms around her waist tightly as if he let go, she would disappear. She then wrapped her arms around his neck tightly, making it look like she had read his mind. They kissed for a minute longer, but to Izuku it felt like an hour, then they had to break due to lack of oxygen. They breathed deeply, looking into each other's eyes. They then smiled and put their foreheads against each other. Well, that was nice, Izuku said, still reeling that he had actually kissed her. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that more. She told him, trying to have her mind play catch-up. Really? You would want to do more of that? Izuku asked, hoping she would say yes. Well, yeah, I would like to do that more. It was actually connected to something I wanted to talk to you about. Oh, and what did you want to talk about? He asked as he thought about what she wanted. Well, I have been feeling differently around you lately. Like every time I saw you, I just got extremely happy and I felt this pull on my chest and I didn't know what it meant. She informed him of her problem. Izuku cracked a big smile and started laughing loudly like he just heard the best joke ever. She pouted cutely at him and asked what was so funny. Izuku finally stopped laughing and was just chuckling as he tried to say something. What you were feeling, hee, is what normal people call love. Oh, so I love you? She asked him as she tried to understand what he just told her. Well, I don't know if you are fully in love with me yet, but you do have feelings for me, he told her. And how do you know that? I know that because I feel the same towards you, he informed her. Oh, okay, so what do we do about it? She asked him. Well, we could enter into a relationship. All right, and how do we do that? She asked. Well, we would just kind of do what we have been doing but more, he told her. She just tilted her head like a confused puppy. He just wanted to kiss her again, but he could wait until she knew what that meant. That means we would do everything we do now, like to spend time together, get meals together, watch movies together, and the such. The more would be we would be more affectionate with each other. Like hold hands, cuddle during the movies, kiss like we were just doing, and more things that we will do down the line, that I can explain to you now or you can just look up later. Izuku to the slowly understanding Mei. So, we would be like one of those couples I have seen so much, she said with a look of understanding in her eyes. Izuku just nodded. Okay, so let's do that, let's be a couple. Izuku just smiled, cupped her face with both hands and kissed her again. She melted into the kiss. They then fell over onto his bed and were still kissing. He shifted so he could wrap his arms around her. Before they could take it farther, there was a knock on Izuku's door. Izuku growled a little at that, but Mei just smiled at him and told him he should answer it. He gave her one last quick kiss and stood up to get the door. When he opened the door, it was Ida standing there waiting patiently. Ah, Izuku, I came to tell you that dinner is here, Ida informed Izuku. When he saw Mei sitting on Izuku's bed, you are welcome to join us as well, Mei, he told her as well. All right, we'll be right down, Izuku said. Ida just responded with one quick nod, turned, and left. Izuku then closed the door and walked back over to Mei. Well, looks like we are going to have our first meal as a couple, Izuku told her. Great. Because I haven't eaten since yesterday, I've been too busy working on my babies. I was war dash, she started to explain but was cut off by Izuku who just kissed her again. She pouted once he broke the kiss. That's cheating, she told him as he just chuckled. All is fair in love and war, he told her. He then grabbed her hand and led her downstairs. They saw that everyone was down there eating already, so they got them food themselves and sat with everybody else. It was a quiet and somber affair until Kaminari cracked a terrible joke that got him shocked by Jiro. That got some people to chuckle and they all started to loosen up and start having some fun. When everyone was basically done eating, Bakugo stood up abruptly and walked over to Izuku. He looked at him in the eye. Meet me outside in 10 minutes, he told Izuku not unkindly. He then walked away. Izuku watched after him for a second. When he turned back around, everyone was looking him with a varying degree of emotions. Mei had the most worrying look. He just gave him a small smile and patted her hand. He told the others that everything will be fine. 10 minutes later he walked outside. Finding Bakugo leaning against the tree about 20 feet from the front entrance waiting for him. He looked up and met Izuku's eyes. He then waved Izuku over. Izuku walked right up to him. They were only a meter or so apart now, and the entire time they never broke eye contact. After a minute of staring, Bakugo finally broke eye contact with a huff. Listen, Izuku, I am only going to say this once. I am sorry about how I treated you. I won't make excuses and I can't change the past, but I wanted to apologize and get it out there. I don't expect you to forgive me, Lord knows I don't deserve it, I just wanted to say it. Aizawa is making me see hound dog for anger management. I am trying to be better, I just thought I'd let you know. He then looked Izuku in the eye to see his reaction. To say Izuku was mind-fed would be an understatement. He never thought in a million years Bakugo would apologize, and with such sincerity. It made him feel a multitude of feels he didn't want to deal with. Finally, he just exhales and meets Bakugo's eyes. I don't think I am ready to forgive you yet. He pauses as he sees Bakugo's jaw clench. But that doesn't mean we can't start rebuilding a bridge I thought was burned and lost to time. He finished as he stuck his hand out. Bakugo looked at his hand like he didn't believe it was there. He then met Izuku's eyes again and took this hand in a tight handshake. Bakugo smirked and said, You got it, Izuku. Yeah, you can stick with Deku. It seems weird when you say my first name. Yeah, felt weird too. They both chuckle at that. When they broke the handshake, Bakugo was the first to turn and leave and head back into the dorm. Izuku stood outside for a moment longer looking at the stars. He was finally getting his first friend back. The next morning Izuku's phone ringing woke him up. He groggily reached for it and answered. Hello. Ah, Mr. Midoriya, it's good that I caught you. The voice over the phone said. Who is this and why are you calling me at? He looked at his clock. 6:30 in the morning? It is ID Nizu and I wanted to get a hold of you before you got busy on your day off. I would like to meet with you in the next half hour if that is all right. Don't worry about breakfast, I already have something prepared. See you then. He finished as he hung up on Izuku. Izuku just groaned and fell back on his bed. It was then when he noticed he wasn't alone. Mei then appeared from under the covers, looking at him with sleepy eyes. She spent the night because she didn't want to be apart from him. You have to leave? She asked him. You got to go talk to Nizu. You can stay here though. You need to catch up on your sleep anyways. I'll come to get you when I'm done. He told her as he gave her a quick kiss on the lips. He then got up and put on a shirt, shorts, and shoes and was out the door. He jogged to the main building. He then wandered the halls looking for Nizu's office. He found it with 5 minutes to spare. He heard typing when he reached the door. Before he could knock, he heard Nizu call him in. He walked into the office and what he saw was a large spacious room with a desk and chair that Nizu was currently occupying. To the left side, there was a pair of couches facing each other. where he saw a tea set and an assortment of breakfast foods. Just take a seat and start on the food, you must be hungry, Nizu told him as he was still typing away at his keyboard. Izuku took his advice and sat down and started wolfing down the food. He was about halfway through eating when Nizu hopped on the other couch. Would you like some tea? Nizu asked him. Izuku had his mouth full so he just nodded. They sat in relative silence as the tea brewed and Izuku kept eating. By the time the tea was done, Izuku had finished eating. Nizu offered him a cup and Izuku gratefully accepted it. They both again sat in silence as they both enjoyed their tea. Izuku was the one to finally break the silence. I'm assuming that you didn't wake me up at 6:30 for just tea. Haha, you would be correct, Mr. Midoriya. You see, you have intrigued me since the entrance exam, and I just wanted to speak with you to learn more about you, was Nizu's reply. Oh, and why do you want to learn more about me? Izuku said with slightly narrowed eyes and poorly hidden suspicion. Don't worry, I know plenty about you from your file. There are just things it doesn't have that I would like to know. Don't worry, nothing you say will leave this room unless you give the okay. I am many things, but I am a man of my word. Nizu informed him. Okay, what do you want to know? Izuku asked. First things first, tell me about yourself, give me your origin story, so to say. And leave nothing out, I would like to know everything. Nizu requested of him. Alright, I guess. So, Izuku told him about his life from his earliest memories to the entrance exam. The only thing he left out is what happened between his jump and when he woke up. To say Nizu was shocked at what he learned. The boy sitting in front of him went through so much to only rise above and beat the odds. He also made a mental note to have a particularly fun conversation with All Might sometime soon. He decided right there to help this young man reach his potential. Last thing I was to discuss, on the written test for the entrance exams you scored a perfect, which has never been done before. So, it leads me to this question. For this first week of school, have the academics challenged you at all? Nizu asked him. No, not really, was Izuku's intelligent reply. That settles it then, I am going to make you my personal student, Nizu told him. What, really? Yes, you obviously have a high level of intelligence that could even let me have a challenge, and I would regret not cultivating it when I had the chance. Now, what do you say? Nizu prompted. Well, I would say sure. I'll do it, said Izuku. Wonderful, now we will have to go over specifics later, but instead of the work your teachers will assign, you will to the work I will give you. Does that sound acceptable? Yeah, it does. Great, now is there a field you have a particular interest in? It would be my duty as your teacher to help you expand in that chosen field. Yes, actually, could we add quirk analysis as part of my curriculum? Izuku informed him. Quirk analysis, you say? Do you already do it? I already do it, yeah, I actually have 13 journals full of my analyses, Izuku told him. I actually have my latest on me if you would like to take a look. Nizu agreed in an instant. He then spent the next 10 minutes scanning through the journal. When he was done, to say he was impressed would be an understatement. This was better work than he has seen most professionals do. This made him giddy about teaching this boy. He was sure to not disappoint. One last thing, would you like to have a new sparring partner? Nizu asked him when they were finishing up. Izuku looked at him confused but nodded his head. Well, there is a senior here. I am going off a 3-year course like their high school while I know Japan does 4 years for college, named Mirio Togata, who just went through a quirk evolution and has more power than anybody can handle in a fight. You would make a perfect partner for him, and he could give you more experience with your quirk and how to handle combat. Nizu explained to Izuku. Izuku thought about this. If even with Acnologia's memories, he didn't have much combat experience, especially when at a certain point Acnologia just stopped fighting altogether and just destroyed everything in sight. So, he told Nizu he would it. Nizu said excellent and told Izuku he could meet him the next day after classes were done at Gym Gamma. He also informed Izuku that this was one of UA's big 3. Izuku widened his eyes at this, but still thanked him for the help and left. It was then that Nizu relaxed. He felt Izuku's aura yesterday but not as long as this, and now he knew for sure. Izuku had the aura of an apex predator. Nothing stood above him on the food chain. And after hearing his story, he now knows completely that he did have the potential to become one of them. Izuku Midoriya would be a king. What kind of king it is too early to tell, but Nizu would be dead if he let Izuku fall completely into darkness. Nizu knew Izuku stopped being fully pure at a young age from the abuse. He also knew Izuku's soul darkened even more because of his suicide attempted. But he will do everything in his power to make sure he doesn't darken much more. Izuku went back to the dorms. By this time most of the class was up and about. Before they could ask him questions, Izuku raced upstairs and went into his room and found Mei still sleeping. He went over and woke her up and let her know they were getting food. She didn't want to walk, so Izuku had to carry her piggyback style. They got downstairs and many looked at him surprised because they thought Mei had gone back to her dorm. Many guys gave Izuku a thumbs up. He just rolled his eyes and set a half-asleep Mei in a chair. At this moment Aizawa walked out of his room wrapped in a few bandages and cast on his arm and saw Izuku set Mei down and looked back at Izuku. What did I say about breaking the bed so early in the semester? Aizawa deadpanned at Izuku, who just groaned loudly and slammed his head on the table. Many laughed at both the statement and the reaction. Izuku denied that they went that far, but this made Kaminari bring up he said that far, then he asked how far they went. Mei then mumbled something about kissing. Izuku just rubbed his temples, not wanting to deal with it. Everyone calmed down after that and everyone ate except Izuku, who had eaten with Nizu. The next day school during homeroom Aizawa brought up that they had 2 weeks before the sports festival and that all heroic class times would now be an open hour for them to prepare for it. The rest of the day was normal except at the very end of the day. When Izuku opened the door to leave so he could meet up with his new sparring partner, there was a sea of people standing there, waiting for them. "Now what can we do for you?" Izuku asked with a small grin, knowing would creep them out a little bit. Many were just mumbling and looking at Izuku. "They aren't going to respond, Deku," Bakugo stated calmly as he walked up beside Izuku. "They are here to check out the class that survived the villain attack. Get out of the way, extras, some of us got places to be," Bakugo told the crowd. Ida then tried to reprimand Bakugo, who just scoffed. "So, this is the illustrious class 1A. I can't say I am impressed with how arrogant you all are," said a blonde guy with a bowl haircut as he pushed himself in front of the crowd. He may have called their class arrogant, but that smile on his face had smug written all over it. "I just wanted to let you all know that Class B is declaring war on you. We will crush you and prove we would have handled the attack better," the blonde guy said arrogantly and a smug smile on his face. Before anyone could react, Izuku struck forward and grabbed the guy around the neck and lifted him off the floor. This caught many by surprise, seeing Izuku do something so drastic. The blonde guy gripped Izuku's hand and everyone could tell he was trying to do something, but it wasn't working. "Oh, are you trying to use your quirk?" Izuku asked the blonde guy, who was now panicking, with a creepy grin spreading across Izuku's face. "Who said I need a strength quirk to hold you off the ground?" Izuku said with a full-blown smile that showed off his elongated canines. The blonde guy was really panicking now. He was trying to punch Izuku's arm or kick his body, but nothing he did worked. "If you are the best in Class B, I will be sadly disappointed by the competition," Izuku taunted him. "I am guessing your quirk is a copying quirk, so right now you are powerless, and I could crush your neck here and now," Izuku told him. "But that isn't something a hero would do. So, goodbye for now," Izuku said as he threw the blonde guy back at the crowd. He flew through the crowd and hit the window on the other side of the hall. Izuku just smirked at the rest of the crowd, who slowly turned back to look at him. "Now get out of my way," Izuku said, and the crowd parted for him like the Red Sea. His class just looked after Izuku, wondering why he acted so differently right there. Bakugo just walked up to the blonde guy. "Deku hates when people lord themselves over others. You just did that. That is why he went after you as he did. He spent his childhood full of abuse. Seeing the same smugness here made him snap. Remember that next time you try something." Having said his piece, Bakugo turned and walked away. His classmates smiled at Bakugo, knowing he was trying to be better. Izuku had changed to his gym uniform and was heading to Gym Gamma, still wrapping his head around what he had just done. For the last month or so since he had transformed for the first time, anything that really annoyed him in the past that he let go, he now had to do something about it. Most of the time violence was involved. He believes that more of Acnologia's personality is showing through, and their merger was almost fully complete now. He just hoped that nothing would come of it though, or he would be able to deal with it. Trying to shake himself of those thoughts, he made a quick stop by the support studio where Mei Shirley was. Stood next to the door and counted to 5 to make sure nothing blew up. When nothing did in that time frame, we opened the door and stepped. Into his right was Power Loader at his desk looking over some paperwork. He looked up when he heard the door, and when he saw Izuku he just pointed to where Mei was. Izuku thanked him and went looking for her. He saw her bent over trying to get reach for something. He saw her very defined but aimed right at him. That just did something to him on a primal level. So, he snuck up behind her and saw what she was reaching for, so with a quick 2-hit combo he smacked her butt, and when she reacted with a little squeak and reeled back, he grabbed what she was reaching for. She looked at him with a cute pout. "That is just mean," she said as she crossed her arms under her chest, pushing them up a little bit. He just chuckled. "It's not mean if I helped you out," he said as he lifted his hand with the part she was trying to reach and showing it to her. She just huffed, snatched the part out of his hand, and walked past him to continue her newest baby. He just stared after her and enjoying how his feelings for her seemed to grow with each passing minute he was with her. She was just blatantly ignoring him now though. He just sighed and walked up behind her and quickly wrapped his arms around her to bring her into a tight hug. She fought for a second to then accept her fate and to snuggled into him. "I only came by to remind you about my sparring match in 10 minutes. Just wanted to let you know, so if you wanted to watch you could come and see it," he told her. She just hummed in thought for a minute and shook her head. "No, I want to work on my babies. The sports festival is coming up, you know. I've got to show my babies off so companies can scout me." He just nodded and let her know that was fine and let go of her. She then froze and inquired if this was one of those moments where the girlfriend goes and cheers on her man. He just laughed at that while she just pouted at him. He informed her no, it's not, she can do all the cheering she wants for him at the sports festival. She just nodded okay and gave him a quick kiss and went back to work. He then left the studio to head to Gym Gamma. He made it with 2 minutes to spare. He walked in and saw 3 things. The first and most noticeable was a muscular, naked, blonde guy popping out of the ground every few seconds while flying a few feet into the air to only fall back into the ground a few meters apart from his last pop-up. A girl in a girl's gym uniform that looked to be a little taller than Mei with long light blue hair that reached just above her ankles and flowed behind her. She also had an incredible figure. Her BRs have to be bigger than Momo's by a decent margin, Izuku thought as he looked at her. Looked to have a nice pair of legs with some thick thighs and a really nice butt. Who was flying in the air trying to blast blonde guy with these wave energy attacks. He finally ripped his eyes from her to see a skinny-looking guy with black, somewhat spiked black hair and what looked like elf ears. He was kind of leaning against the wall watching them until he noticed Izuku, then it looked like he freaked and spun around and faced the wall. Izuku didn't know what to do in this situation. He was barely passable for normal social interactions. This was just insane. So, he did the one thing he could think of. He just shot a zero in between the blonde guy when he popped out of the ground and the blue-haired girl. That got both of their attention and they quickly looked over and saw Izuku standing there. "Oh, this must be my new sparring partner," the naked blonde said, as he ran over to the black-haired one to get his clothes. While he did that, the attractive blue-haired girl flew at him and started circling him, asking him questions a mile a minute. "Oh, are you the first year? What is your quirk? Is it true you turned into a dragon during the entrance exams? Is it true you killed a monster that was supposed to match All Might? How strong are you?" Getting tired of all her questions real quick, Izuku shot his hand out and covered her mouth. "For the love of God, one question at a time," he told her with an exasperated sigh. "He came here for a fight, not 20 questions. That's just Nijire, she can't stop the questions when they start coming." The blonde one laughed as he made his way towards Izuku, fully clothed, and dragging the black-haired one behind him. "Why don't we introduce ourselves? I am Mirio Togata, the guy you are going to spar. The one you are holding is Nijire Hado, and this right behind me is Tamaki Amajiki. And we are Dash." The big 3, Izuku deadpanned at him. "I know your title, Nizu informed me when he set this up." "Well, looks like he beat me to it." The blonde laughed. "So, this green-haired first year is my sparring partner. He looks like the serious type. I am just going to have to break him out of his shell. Mirio thought with a smile. So, this is my sparring partner. He looks like the laid-back kind of guy. He isn't going to take this seriously, is he? Izuku thought to himself. Why don't you introduce yourself? Mirio said to Izuku with a smile. I am Izuku Midoriya, and please just call me Izuku. I despise formalities, Izuku told them. This got Mirio and Nijire both to smile brightly at him. Ugh, too bright, Izuku thought. Then you can call us all by our first names. Mirio cheered as Nijire nodded her head and Tamaki was still hiding behind Mirio. Alright, I'll do that. So, you the one I'm sparring? Izuku asked Mirio. Yep, I'll make sure I'll go easy on you since you are a first year after all, Mirio informed him with a smile. Yeah, don't do that. I won't get anything out of this if you go easy. Just treat me like any other opponent. Izuku told him, slightly annoyed he was being underestimated. Oh, I get you. You have your pride after all. I can get that, Mirio said as he nodded his head. Okay, so what happened to your quirk? Nizu said that you had a quirk evolution. What changed? Izuku asked. Oh, well, as you already saw, my original power was permeation, where I could slip through anything, be it parts of my body or my whole body. As you saw, I can even slip through the ground, Mirio informed Izuku, who just nodded. Now though, my quirk mutated and now I also have a powerful enhancer. Like so powerful I broke bones the first time used it. I can't use the full amount yet. But the more use it, the more my body adapts, so I can get to the full output someday. That is why I need a sparring partner, so I can get my new quirk under control and so can work with both in tandem. Mirio explained to Izuku, who widened his eyes a little bit. An enhancer that's strong? This is going to be fun. Izuku thought as he started getting excited. Okay, I get your problem. One quick question before we beat the sheet out of each other though. He got interrupted by Mirio's boisterous laugh, Nijire's giggle, and Tamaki's huff. How much of the max output can you use? Yes, Mirio. I can safely stay at a 20% constant output, 35% for a powered-up attack, and that can only be for a few seconds at a time, and I can't do those often. Alright, let's get his show on the road, Izuku said as they got prepared for the fight. Nijire and Tamaki stood off to the side as Izuku and Mirio stood 20 feet apart. What no one knew is that Aizawa, All Might, and Nizu were all in Nizu's office watching what was about to happen. This is going to be interesting, Nizu said. Problem child is going to finally cut loose against a person for once, Aizawa said. Hope he doesn't hurt Mirio too much. Have some faith in Mirio, Aizawa. He's gotten that new power after all, All Might said with a hint of pride. Oh, showing favoritism, or are you just don't like Midoriya? Asked Aizawa. What, I am not showing favoritism and I don't hate Midoriya. All Might retorted with a little annoyance in his tone. Well, the kid hates you and that is something you don't see often. What, did you kill his dog or something? Inquired Aizawa. No, I didn't kill his dog. I dash. He was cut off by Nizu. That is a story for another time. He said as he gave All Might a look that made him shiver. Look, they are starting. Back to the boys, they were staring each other down. Izuku finally picked up a stray stone and tossed it in the air. Both got into ready stance when the stone peaked, and when it the ground, Izuku lunged forward. He brought up a fist and aimed for Mirio's face. It slipped right through and Mirio tried to gut punch Izuku, but he just took the hit with no damage. Izuku jumped back and looked at his opponent. He is a close-range fighter that is also immune to long-range attacks if he can see them coming. I am going to assume that he can't use his senses when he is intangible though. Izuku thought. Before he could try anything, Mirio slipped into the ground without his clothes. Great, now I'll have to fight him while he's naked. He barely picked up a sound behind himself, so he jumped forward and turned midair to Mirio, who was there with a look of surprise on his face. Izuku then launched a zero at Mirio that he just slipped through. Izuku, knowing he could tank the hits Mirio threw at him, decided to say F and fight hand to hand. He then shot forward at Mirio and quickly got into fast-paced martial arts match. They were perfectly balancing each other, Mirio slipping through everything, and Izuku just not dodging and taking hit after hit with no damage. Both were starting to have fun with their fight. For Mirio it was genuine enjoyment, while for Izuku it was battle hunger that had him wanting to fight more and more. After a couple of minutes of flying fists and feet, both jumped. But let's kick this up a notch, Izuku said with a grin. Oh, and what do you have in mind? Mirio asked with a grin of his own. You use your enhancer at the 20% level and I take the kid gloves off, Izuku told him. You sure? I don't want to hurt you. Mirio said a little worried. You haven't hurt me yet, so get on with it, Izuku growled as he then flooded the building with his power. You asked for it, one for all 20% cloak. Mirio shouted. Izuku could feel the power wafting from Mirio and grinned wider. This was going to be fun. They both shot forward like bullets to meet each other. They clashed again, and this time Mirio wasn't slipping through as many of Izuku's attacks, combination of trying to tank them and not having the time to, so he was slowly taking damage. Izuku on the other hand was doing just fine, negating all the damage since a Quirk was causing it. Izuku then got in close and got a good hold on Mirio and threw him away. While he was trying to recover, Izuku launched a roar at him. Mirio slipped through, but since his senses were gone, Izuku snuck up on him from behind. Dragon's Destruction Fist. Izuku roared as he punched Mirio right in the middle of the back. Mirio yelled in pain as he flew forward. He recovered with only enough time to slip through a zero. He landed and was panting. He looked up and Izuku still looked right as rain. Well, Izuku's shirt was destroyed by Mirio's attacks, but Izuku looked unharmed. He wasn't even breathing heavy. Screw it, Mirio thought. One for all 35% cloak. He roared and shot at Izuku, who was unprepared by the sudden speed boost. Detroit Smash. Mirio yelled as he punched Izuku in the face. Like every other time, in this fight Izuku just took it and didn't move an inch. I should have probably warned you. I am immune to all quirks. Izuku said with a smile, Mirio's fist still attached to his face. Mirio's eyes widened at that. Izuku then kicked him square in the chest to get some distance. Izuku then froze and started sniffing the air. This can't be right, Izuku thought as he looked at Mirio. The scent was so similar to All Might's and he even used the same attack. Izuku then became enraged. This was one of the worst things anyone had ever done to him, and he is including Bakugo. No one can just use him like that. He will not be used. Who? You are his son. Izuku roared out. His eyes glowing and power was surging off him in waves. You dare to use me to train his son? Izuku roared to the heavens. Mirio looked at him in confusion, same as his friends. Aizawa looked confused as well, but when he saw both Nizu and All Might's faces he was wondering what he was missing. Both looked terrified, and to see Nizu scared, that was saying something. Who do you think is my father? Mirio cautiously asked, wondering what had just caused Izuku to get so angry. It's so obvious you're All Might's son. That caused the other 5 people to widen their eyes, while Mirio looked shocked for a second but put a placating look on his face, but before he could say anything Izuku continued. It's so obvious, tall, blonde, big build, similar scent, and very similar quirks. You can't try to deny it. Nizu even knew of my feels regarding All Might, and he is making me help his son get control of his power. I have never felt so used before. Izuku kept unleashing more and more power. By this point, everyone on UA's campus could feel his power. His head hurt so much. Izuku felt so angry he then looked at Mirio dead in the eye. I am going to kill you. Izuku roared as his power swarmed him, and after a few seconds his power expanded and exploded out, revealing his dragon form and blowing apart the roof. He then roared to the heavens. I will destroy everything. Izuku then looked back down at Mirio and lifted and clawed hand. He brought it down right on top of Mirio, who used one for all to jump and to slip through the attack at the same time. He tried to get to his friends, but Izuku stopped him with another swing of his clawed hand. He was sent flying in the other direction. When he landed, he saw that Nijire had picked up Tamaki and were flying away. By this time, all the teachers had assembled with Nizu, All Might, Aizawa in front. Nizu had a megaphone. Mr. Midoriya, you need to calm down. You are causing unnecessary destruction and putting other students' lives at risk. He called out. Izuku turned around to look at him, but when he saw the group his power surged. All Might, I will kill you, you hypocritical piece of shit. He roared at the group of teachers. Many had surprised looks and looked between the student and All Might, who just had a grim look on his face. And you said I could trust you. But you used me, just like everyone else. Izuku roared. Now that statement caught everyone who could hear Izuku off guard. What did Nizu do to him? They all wondered. With a grim face, Nizu responded, Mr. Midoriya, this is all just a misunderstanding. If you would calm down and transform back down, we could tell you the truth. He tried to reason with him. Oh, no more lies. I will not be made a fool of. I am the Dragon King. No one tricks me and gets away with it. With that, he lunged forward with a clawed hand raised. The other teachers retreated while All Might lifted his hands and caught the clawed hand. Young Midoriya, you need to listen to us. You need to calm down. I won't listen to a hypocrite and a liar. Izuku roared out as he swung his other hand and smacked All Might away. Roar! Izuku shot a roar out that hit All Might head-on. He was sent rocketing away in pain. When he landed, he recovered and jumped back at Izuku. Sorry about this, young Midoriya. Detroit smash. All Might yelled as he punched Izuku in the face, which had no effect on Izuku. You are like a fly, no matter how many times I smack you away you keep coming back, Izuku said as he smacked All Might to the ground. He was bringing his hand up again ready to squash All Might when a shout made him freeze. I see you. Don't do it. Mei yelled as she ran up to him. He looked down at her. Mei, you need to leave. I could hurt you. He told her with clear worry in his voice. But you won't, I know you wouldn't hurt me. She told him as she grabbed a clawed hand with hers. Her touch made him start to make him calm down. He looked around and saw that the other teachers were looking at him ready to fight. He also saw that students were looking at him with fear. He then looked back down at her. Forgive me, he quietly asked her. But his voice carried and others heard. He then was surrounded in his aura and quickly deformed. He was standing there in half a gym uniform. Mei then hugged him tightly. By this point, the teachers had surrounded him already for action. Before they could say anything, Nizu and Aizawa appeared in front of them all. Now, let's not go doing anything we will regret, Nizu said as he turned to face Izuku. He shocked everyone when he got onto his knees and bowed before Izuku. This is all my fault to begin with. I should have told Izuku beforehand why he was sparring with Mirio. For that, I deeply apologize. This shocked everyone. No one thought they would ever see the day Nizu would bow to someone. Izuku had the most shocked face of all. He then dropped to his own knees and bowed as well. I am sorry for my actions, he said. Nizu rose back up and said, that is quite all right. Now once Mirio and All Might are healed we will explain everything. Izuku rose back up and nodded. An hour later Izuku was sitting in the nurse's office with Nizu, a skinny All Might, Mirio, and recovery girl. Izuku was sitting with his arms crossed waiting for someone to start explaining how everything was a misunderstanding. Finally, after no one spoke up, Izuku got sick of the silence. Okay, so can someone finally explain to me why they have similar scents and quirks but aren't father and son? They all looked at each other, and All Might decide to tell him about One for All. After he explained that, Izuku sat in silence for a little bit. Alright, so this quirk is passed down, yes? They all nodded. Okay, so this quirk has two aspects, the stockpiling and the transferring. They nodded again. You are still holding back information, he said with absolute certainty. This made the 3 out of the 4 freezes in shock. The only one who didn't was Mirio as he looked at the rest confused. What are you talking about? All Might asked, trying to sound confused himself. You are a terrible liar, Izuku replied. It was then that Nizu started laughing. He told All Might that Izuku was too smart to play dumb to him. So, with that, All Might told both Izuku and Mirio the origins of One for All. About its creator All for One and how he created the quirk by trying to force a quirk onto his brother. Now both Izuku and Mirio knew the full story and mulling over it. Izuku suddenly looked like he had been struck. They all looked at him then. Mirio has both his original quirk and One for All. What is your original quirk, All Might? Izuku asked. This made All Might flinch, knowing that Izuku wasn't going to like the answer. I was quirkless before I got One for All, he said quietly. Hee hee ha ha. Izuku started laughing like he was crazy. This made them all look at him slight apprehension. I was right, you are nothing but a hypocrite and a liar. This made Mirio and Recovery Girl look at him in confusion because they didn't know the truth. Oh, he hadn't let you know what he told me a year ago, did he? Izuku asked the rest of the room with a mocking smile. Up until a year ago, I was quirkless. This made Mirio widen his eyes. I wanted to be a hero with all my heart. I wanted to just like All Might to save people with a smile on my face. Izuku said with a sad smile. No one believed in me, even my own mother saw me as a glass sculpture that would be broken. When I finally got the chance to meet All Might and ask him it was possible. Do you know what he said? He said, no, not without a quirk. It's okay to dream, but make sure it is realistic. Those were his exact words. After he left me on the roof we were on, I took some advice I had gotten earlier that day and jumped off. This shocked Mirio and Recovery Girl to their cores. It is only because I gained my quirk during my fall did I survive. This explanation shocked Mirio. He glanced over at All Might, who was just sitting there with a guilty expression on his face. Recovery Girl marched over to him and started hitting him with her cane and berating him for his stupidly. Don't worry, Mirio, I will still spar with you. The sins of the previous holder won't be passed on to the current. I would like to apologize to Nijire and Tamaki if I can though. Izuku asked Mirio. Mirio just smiled brightly at him. Of course, I'll probably have to explain one for all a little bit to them so they understand what happened, but I'm sure when they get the whole story they'll forgive you, and don't worry, your secret is safe with them. Izuku smiled at him and thanked him. He then left to go find Mei because it had been a long day.